Okay, we'll be starting in a couple minutes.
Awesome. How are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, I slept in and I woke up late and saw Rebecca's stream.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I'm just started my live stream music.
Oh, wow, nice.
So you're just starting out on YouTube, or how long you been doing this?
So I had a personal YouTube Christian Simplicity that I started in 2021. That one's mainly just about lifestyle, about minimalism, if you know what that is. And then I have a channel now called Kyle where I basically debunk atheism, Darwinist fairy tale, Protestantism, Catholicism, Islam, Judaism, any false belief.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many topics we can cover. Maybe I should make a list and then we can go through them one at a time.
I have some questions for you that would be interesting. So.
Sure, yeah, we can go back and forth. I'm open to that. But yeah, we can talk about morality, science, what else? Nihilism. What else did you talk about with Rebecca?
I talked about that atheism always leads to nihilism. Atheism can never be epistemically justified. It will always be arbitrary and out of pocket.
Yes. Presuppositions.
Yes, presuppositions.
Yeah, we should talk about Eastern Orthodox too. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. Now, if you want to have someone really good on, have Jay Dyer. He is. He's very open to debate. If you're on Twitter, he normally has Twitter Spaces, but he is open to any argumentation. But yeah, check him out.
You know, one thing I don't like about Jay Dyer, just to be honest, is he never smiles.
He smiles and sings. He's a jack of all trades.
Really? He sings?
Yeah, he has this song Gossiping. You haven't heard of it? I can play it.
Yeah, let me hear him sing.
He's really good. See,
while you're looking for that, hey, welcome guys. This is an impromptu live stream. Yeah, you gotta. I don't know if the live stream viewers can hear it though, but maybe just put a link in this chat in the whereby. And I can...
Yeah, PineCreek said Jay Dyer doesn't smile, and I said Jay Dyer smiles all the time. He can sing. Search up Jay Dyer's song "Gossiping."
Well, if he's a good singer, my respect for him goes up.
Yeah, I'll play it real quick. I think you'll be able to hear it. Let's see what. Can you hear it?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
I'll listen later.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Kyle. I have two YouTube channels, one Christian Simplicity, where I talk about minimalism, living below your means. That channel is more focused on lifestyle. And then Kyle, my channel, is more about debunking atheism, the Darwinist fairy tale, Protestantism, Catholicism, basically any false belief that is not Eastern Orthodox Christianity.
Okay. You know, we should start with talking about what we have in common, what we agree on.
Yeah.
I do think you made the comment about Protestants that they technically just came a couple hundred years before Mormonism.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's literally, you can just start your own church, just start a business church. You can make your own little cult. Protestantism is just basically a bunch of mini cults and business churches. And I get why no one in the West wants, they're like, I'm an atheist, because those options aren't very good. They're false versions of Christianity.
And another thing I think we have in common is you talked about consumerism with Rebecca a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big believer too that you should live below your means. You shouldn't get caught up with the culture of buy. You should save your money. It's okay to sit on cash. Your goal should be to try to be as least dependent on others as possible.
Yeah, financial freedom, having enough passive income where you aren't a wage slave.
Yeah. So often, some people in politics, they want other people to be dependent on them because then they can get votes.
Exactly. It's all about making you a slave to the system, a slave to the world. So yeah, I think Christianity is the ultimate like freedom from their system.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'll just pick on, I'm Canadian, by the way, but in the US system, if the Democrats are successful, they actually push themselves out of a job, because if they educate the populace
Yeah.
in a way that people are educated to the point where they don't need the government to help them, they lose votes.
Exactly. It's a bad system because they are only going to thrive if there's more and more welfare. That's why they try and keep everyone down. They try and keep you just where you're at, so you can never achieve actual like fulfillment and freedom, because then you wouldn't vote for them. You'd be free, and that's not what they want.
Okay. So you like me now?
Well, I don't think you're. I don't think you're consistent at all. I don't think conservative. What does it mean to be conservative atheist?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and people have different definitions. And I don't really like to talk about politics too much, even though I do maybe 10% of the time on my channel. But let's get into the real important stuff, like our eternal destinies.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, but first I want to talk to you about. So let me guess, you believe in like natural rights, and that we have like these rights because of the Constitution, right? And like you can't violate those rights. Is that what you believe as a conservative?
You can violate rights.
Okay, so
but then there's consequences from society.
Okay, but do they have any actual meaning? Is there anything actually wrong with anything?
Oh yeah, I would say yes, based on my standard.
Okay, well your standard is completely arbitrary. It's ad hoc.
No, it has reasons.
Okay, what are the reasons?
Okay, so let's take a certain action one human can do to another human, like a really bad one. You pick.
What's really bad? You said bad. What's bad?
Yeah, no, it's defined, bad is defined based on my standard.
Okay, but your standard's completely arbitrary. I would say abortion is objectively evil. Why is that wrong?
I'm against abortion too, but
wait, why?
Because it goes against my standard.
Okay. I didn't ask for your feelings. I asked for why.
So what you could ask is, what is my standard?
Yeah, what is your standard?
So my standard is basically I use ideas of well-being, unnecessary suffering. So if I see something, and I can subjectively choose that standard, and then when I see an action that goes against that standard, I can say it's objectively wrong.
No, it's subjectively wrong. It's just your opinion.
No, it's sort of like saying, I agree, fully admit that my choosing of my standard is subjective. But it's sort of like saying, okay, I define an apple as red, and this is just a crude example, and I see a green fruit, and I say, okay, if that's my standard without any exceptions, then that's not an apple. I can objectively say that.
So you believe in objective truth and objective reality. How do you have knowledge of objective reality?
Based on my presuppositions.
What are your presuppositions?
My presuppositions is the universe exists and has the properties it has.
How do you know that?
It's a presupposition.
Oh, okay, but why is that your first presupposition?
Because it comports to my properly basic belief.
Why is that probably basic?
Because it's something that we all share and experience.
How do you know that we're actually experiencing something? So you're saying
based on my presuppositions.
Okay, but that's just a circular argument. You're saying that, yeah, and because you're a classical foundationalist.
Yeah. So, but I would say it's virtuously circular.
Okay, but the thing is what's well-being on your system? Do you know the history of skepticism? Do you know who David Hume is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know the is-ought dilemma? You cannot derive an ought from an is. You said well-being is happening or suffering is happening. Suffering ought not to happen. That's arbitrary.
I'm not big in philosophy, so you're gonna have to slow down a little bit. Like, what do you mean by you can't get an ought from an is?
Okay, so on your system, every system can explain what is happening in the world, but from that you can never derive how the world ought to be. You cannot derive normative statements. It will always be a non sequitur. It will always just be a subjective taste preference, arbitrary, ad hoc. So suffering is happening. Suffering ought not to happen. I can just ask why.
Okay.
That's arbitrary.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So I can't tell you, for example, that you should do something based on my presupposition.
Well, it's not just that you can't tell me. You can't even tell anyone. You can't tell yourself. There are no ethics on your system. You have a system that has denied the possibility of ethics.
Now, how does your worldview circumvent this? Because can you get a ought from that God is?
Well, yes, because in the Christian paradigm, there is objective morality. There are objective
So you can't
ethics.
get an ought from an is.
Well, yes, because we have objective meaning, but not on your system where it is totally subjective and arbitrary.
Can I ask why? Okay, so you can get an ought from an is if it's your
If it's
worldview, but not
objective.
mine.
No. Okay, you're misunderstanding. My worldview, I believe in objective ethics. You believe that it's all subjective.
What do you mean by
Therefore,
objective ethics?
that exist outside of us, just like the apple is
Okay,
objectively
but why
red
one
outside of us.
ought follow that?
Because we have a worldview, we have revelation that is given us a worldview that can account for ethics. There are no ethics on your system. It's completely arbitrary. It's ad hoc.
Okay, but what
You
if
say,
someone were to say that your ethics is arbitrary?
Well, they're not. They're objective. It's like saying logic.
But what makes them objective?
Because they come from an objective source. They come from objective meaning.
Okay, but what if I were just to say that my objective, I actually don't believe in objective morality, but what if an atheist was to say that their objective morality comes from an objective source, the universe?
Oh, how do they have knowledge of what the morality is from the universe? Okay,
From their properly basic beliefs.
What do you mean by that?
It would be akin to revelatory in your system.
No, because we have we have a normative authority. It has been written down. We have the oral tradition. You're just arguing.
Okay, so this is the difference. This is the main difference. If it's not written down in an oral tradition, then it's not objective?
No, but I'm saying that objective truth exists and objective ethics do exist. They exist outside of my mind. They exist outside of your mind. They exist in the divine mind, God.
But why should one listen to God?
Because God is all good. Now, why should anyone believe you? There's no reason to follow the true or false.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I would say because I could give reasons. Maybe
what are your reasons?
Maybe shared goals. So let's say you do not want to be raped, and I don't want to be raped, and so now we see a person who wants to rape both of us. We can say, look, we don't want to be raped, and my guess is the raper doesn't want to be raped. Maybe maybe he does or she. But when we have shared goals, we could say, hey, if we share these goals, then we can make this as a standard of this is what we don't want a society to do.
So you're saying truth is determined by human consensus?
Well, I do think that sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't.
But does it exist outside, or is it just always up to human consensus? If everyone agreed that Christianity was true, would that make it true? If everyone
no, I agree with you there. And does it make it true that if I think I can fly, that I can jump off a cliff and fly? I agree with you. But it is true that you're wearing it's true for you that you're wearing a floral patterned shirt and not me. I'm not wearing.
Yeah.
That's the type of subjective truth, right? Because it's based on the subject, you and me.
I know, but it exists objectively outside. These aren't just humanly constructed realities. There's a reality that exists outside of the mind. It exists in the divine mind, and it has to be personal. Otherwise, we wouldn't have access to it. That's how we know that truth actually exists. Logic,
That's
whether we like
interesting.
it or not.
How do you know truth exists?
Because it was revealed. How do you know truth exists?
Well,
you have no criteria. It's an arbitrary criteria.
I would say things like, I believe that when I drop this pen, it's going to fall downwards towards the ground. Mm-hmm. Now, is that true?
Is it? I'm asking you. Do you believe that there's objective reality?
I'm asking myself too. Am I right? Is this true that if I let go, it's going? Well, why don't we check? And why doesn't a Muslim check? And why doesn't a Hindu check? And why doesn't a Jew check? And you know what? If we all get the same conclusion, I think we can say maybe that our belief is based on something true. Mm-hmm. That's reasonable, right?
It's reliable. That also goes into the problem of induction. You're saying that, okay, if we do this and it's repeatable, it should always be that way. If I always drop the pen, it will always go that way. But a perfectly logical person would not use inductive reasoning because it cannot be justified on atheism. You can never have epistemic.
Why does it need to be justified?
Because if you're not epistemically justified, you're just being arbitrary, and you've lost the debate.
No,
It's
not being
just ad
arbitrary.
hoc.
Like a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu, we can all drop. So we have reasons to think. It's not arbitrary.
But do you have reasons to believe that every time you drop the pen, it will be that way?
That's a good question. So now let's say in my worldview, I presuppose the uniformity of nature. Okay. I could be wrong though. This pen could go up, but it could also go up in your worldview. Yes.
Yes, but why did you presuppose the uniformity of nature? That makes no sense on your system. It's a completely random,
I don't
meaningless
have
universe.
to. I don't have to.
But you do.
I will change my mind when it goes up.
Wait, I gotta plug in. I gotta turn on my power real quick. I'll be right back. So I'm more interested in your conservative atheism. What do you mean? So abortion is wrong because it's against well-being, but why is well-being good? That's just arbitrary.
Based on my standard. So
that's your standard.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I'm not asking you for your feelings. I'm asking you for what's objectively right and wrong. Because a liberal can come in and say, well, my feelings say that abortion is right. And okay, if we're okay with being arbitrary, then their argument is just as valid as yours.
But the thing is, let's say a rapist was going into a room, or even an abortion doctor, whatever. You see, something that both you and I would say is wrong, and you and I are posed with the task of convincing them not to do the heinous thing that they're about to do. What would you say? So imagine a person's about to rape, but you're tied up. You can't like physically stop them. You can only use your words. What would you say to a raper who's about to rape? Well, to stop them?
Well, I would say that human is made in the image of God. You are defiling God. You are doing something objectively evil. What you are doing is wrong. It's not just my feelings. You have offended God. Every human has an inherent dignity, and what you are doing is objectively wrong.
Okay. So they hear you say that, and the raper says, so what? I don't care about your God. Okay. Then what do you say?
You have free will. You can do what you want, but there will be consequences.
See, now we're getting somewhere. What are those consequences? This might actually impact the raper before they rape. So what would you say are the consequences that might change that raper's mind?
There's two types of consequences. There would be the societal consequences if it's culturally acceptable, but then there's the actual objective that exists outside of this, where you have done something that is objectively evil.
So what? So what if it's objectively evil? How are you going to change that raper's mind? You're getting there.
I'm saying, all I can do is call them to consistency. I probably can't change their mind. I'm just saying, okay, if you're a logical person,
but at least try.
Okay, like I said, I would try, but on your worldview, why does it matter? Let's say everyone agrees that that's okay.
It matters because the woman's about to be raped. So
why does that matter in your worldview?
Because the woman doesn't want to be raped.
Okay, there's a lot of things people don't want. We don't argue what people want. We argue.
So I would say actually, you and I are the same. I would, to a point, I would start out saying to this raper, look, if you rape, you're going to have to kill me and Kyle too, because we're going to report you and you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail from society. And you could probably just go home, watch some porn and get the same orgasm that you need and you're done. Why risk this? Like, I would try to appeal to the raper's sense of it's not worth the risk.
Well, I would too, but what happens if it is worth the risk in their mind? Well, then is there anything actually wrong with it? Like,
okay, but are we agreed that might be a good tack to use?
No, I agree. It's sound logic, but I don't think you're consistent. You can't be epistemically justified in saying.
But I'm talking pragmatics here. I'm talking.
But why should we be pragmatic?
So you and I are agreed that this actually might be a good way to get the raper to stop, to appeal to their sense of, I don't want to be in jail for the rest of my life. But notice something, no God required.
Oh, okay.
Right? Now, but you have an advantage over me. You can say, not only are you going to go to jail for the rest of your life, but this God might actually punish you in the afterlife.
Well, yeah, if you continue in your sin.
See, and that's where your world view has an advantage over mine, because you got this cosmic punishment.
Yeah, objective, because it's not just me and you making, because what happens, I mean, something like abortion, liberals will logically justify. They will say, well, we need abortion because people are going to do it anyway, so might as well make it legal, and it reduces poverty. But okay, that's pragmatic, but I'm saying no, that's objectively evil. You don't just get to kill someone because they're poor. It's wrong. Abortion is wrong, even if it pragmatically leads to less crime. It does whatever.
But
It
what
doesn't
makes
matter
it wrong?
because humans are made in the image of God. Why is abortion wrong in
Okay,
your
but if
worldview?
God were to command abortion, would it still be wrong?
I mean, God is all good, so I don't. I mean, it depends on the situation. We can't know everything. We have a finite human mind. We can't
I know,
understand
but the
everything.
situation, I understand it depends on the situation. But if God truly commanded one person to abort a baby in a woman, would it be wrong?
I don't know. It depends on the specific situation.
What
That's
does
a
it depend on? If it's truly God commanding it, what does
I
it depend on?
if God's commanding me, I need more context.
Why do you need more context if God's truly commanding it?
Because you're just bringing up arbitrary hypothetical. There's no reason you need to bring up.
Right,
some
it is a
specific,
hypothetical question, and
it's
in
kind of
philosophy,
pointless.
like you said, you like philosophy, right?
Yeah, but there are bad pointless questions to ask.
But in philosophy, or philosophers use hypothetical questions to get at like the real issues and what people mean by what they say. So when you say abortion is objectively wrong, and then I ask the question, if God truly, hypothetical, God truly commands a man to abort a baby, and I know for a lot of Christians this is inconceivable, but if that actually happened, would you say that's objectively wrong, that specific abortion?
Again, I would need to know the context, but
The context is God's commanding it for morally
well,
sufficient reasons.
how do I know it's actually God?
In this hypothetical thought experiment, you know with certainty that this is God, as certain as a human can be that there's revelation, that type of certainty. Would
we'll
you
never
say
have that type of certainty?
I mean, not 100%, but as much as you know that you are here right now, God is saying to abort this baby, would you say then that specific abortion is objectively wrong?
Well, how do I know it's a God and not a demon?
So your choices are, in this hypothetical, you know it's God. So your choices are, yes, it's...
I know, but I could never, how would I know that it's God? Because God only commands things that are in line with the continuity. God, in the Bible, it says, even if an angel comes and preaches a different gospel, do not listen to them. So it could be an angel, a demon acting like God. It needs to be in line
Kyle,
with
the
revelation.
I'm not trying to be a gotcha here, but do you see what's happening? You're refusing to answer that question because the answer is then it's not objectively wrong if God is truly commanding it.
I did not answer the question. Rebecca told me this is exactly what you do. You try and do these gotcha questions, but it's a totally false question. You're not giving me the context. You're giving me something.
Okay, let's do something biblical then.
Okay.
If you see one human take a sword and stab an infant in the heart, would you say that's objectively wrong?
What are you referring to in the Bible? I've got my Bible right here. Where did that happen?
Okay, let's take oh boy. Should we take the Canaanite story? You want to take that one?
What verse is that?
1 Samuel 15, I believe.
1 Samuel 15. Let me look at that.
That's the Amalekites, right?
Let's see. 1 Samuel. And so what exactly does it say?
Well, let's bring it up here.
1 Samuel.
Yeah, verse 3. Can you read it?
Can you read it? I'm still...
1 Samuel 15, verse 3. Now go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men, women, children, infants, cattle, sheep, camels, and donkeys.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my question. I'm not talking about the Bible right now, but in general, if you were walking along the street and you see a man kill an infant, would you say that's objectively wrong?
In most circumstances, yes.
But it's not always wrong, is it?
Yeah, I mean, there's some situations where
Right.
it could be justified.
Okay. So in the case in 1 Samuel 15, when God says to kill children and infants, that's not objectively wrong, is it?
No, because God is ultimate goodness, and we may not understand it. Again, you need to read the Bible in its full context.
No,
You
no,
need to read
that's just
all
a
of
very simple
Samuel.
question. It's not
Yeah.
objectively wrong. So now
Well, no, it's objectively right because God, it would only wills the good. God is
right,
goodness is
it's
help.
objectively right in this case.
Yeah.
In this specific case, it's objectively right because God commanded it, right?
Yeah, is that
Okay. So now, if God commands the abortion of a baby in a woman, I'll ask you again: is it objectively wrong or objectively right?
Well, this was the history of the Israelite people. There's a bunch of context behind it. If I got a voice in God in my head saying, "Oh, kill that baby," I'm not going to listen.
But you notice
to
how
that.
easy it was for you to say this objectively right in 1 Samuel 15:3, but you're still struggling with the abortion question?
Well, do you not understand that has context, and you're just giving me some
The
random
context is God's
hypothetical?
commanding it.
Oh,
What,
okay,
what
but
more
again,
context do you need?
no, because there's hundreds of years of context behind why these events happen. And like, what is this? Are you what's the point of this? Like on your system,
The
there
point
is
of
no
this is to
evil.
show that under your system, whatever God says, does, commands, wills, decrees is right by definition. Am I wrong?
It's objective morality that was revealed to us. On your system, it's always arbitrary. It's just your opinion.
Okay, so good. So I think we're agreed that under your system, basically what is objectively good is based by just by definition of what God says, does, decrees, wills, and so forth.
In continuity, yes.
Yeah, okay. Then but here's the problem I have. The problem I have is if someone doesn't believe in your God and they're told, well, this is objectively wrong, and they say, so what? What do you do? I mean, it's like, how do you improve society? The only thing it really does is it maybe gives Christians like this gravitas, this oomph, like, it's wrong because my God says so. No, just, just take it. Otherwise, it's just your opinion. But a guy like me could say, well, why should I listen to God's opinion?
Well, yeah, you have free will. Society has only gotten worse. Do you think society has gotten better? You've probably seen this in your life. Look at now we have more abortions, more STDs, more broken families, hookup culture, promiscuous
More
sex.
abortions compared to what?
Compared to compared to no abortion, it used to be banned.
But you realize the last 20 years abortion rates have gone down?
No, I know, but I'm saying that it used to be illegal, and yes, it went up. It had a spike, but I'm saying if you go back, America used to be a Christian country. It used to actually be a good moral place to live, and then now we've completely abandoned God, and people are like, "Oh, we don't need God. We can do it."
Completely
and now we have people
abandoned
who,
God? 65% of the United States at least call themselves Christian.
Okay, it doesn't matter because the actual church attendance and the actual people that are living this way, because even a lot of Christians are super liberal. I mean, we have people who don't even know what a woman is because of people. They're just like, oh, it's just what I feel because this is what atheism results in. Atheism is liberalism. You have to believe in
atheism
God.
Is a cause of that?
Yeah.
Maybe it's paganism.
Oh, yeah, definitely paganism too.
Yeah, I would say because there's
definitely.
Isn't there more pagans than atheists in the United States?
Well, I mean, when I say atheist, I mean like unaffiliated, agnostic, atheist, anyone who's just not practicing a religion. I'm saying our society
a lot
has
of
got.
Agnostics will be mad at you if you call them atheists.
Okay, whatever. They live like atheists. They live like atheists. That's what matters. A lot of Christians live like atheists. I mean, I'm just saying you're saying that it's better off. There's no better off on your worldview. It's just your opinion. I have an objective criteria. You just
right, but you get what I'm saying, right? I'm saying that if someone can say the same thing about God, it's just God's opinion.
It's okay. That's like saying, oh, well, logic's just God's opinion. You could say that, but it doesn't. It means that it still exists outside of you, whether you agree. I mean, there's people who say, oh, well, I don't believe in women. Anyone can be a woman because reality can be whatever I want. Because this is what atheism leads to: postmodernism, will to power, and just complete philosophical suicide.
Okay, you want to shift to science now?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah, because we've kind of beaten morality to death here.
yeah, but I'd say look up. You need to look up. You should read the skeptics, because the route that skepticism went down is the is-ought question. Atheists can never be epistemically justified in their claims on ethics, on metaphysics, and this has caused the abandonment of philosophy, which is why instead of doing philosophy, we have Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Don't do philosophy; it's a waste of time. And now they say, "Oh, science can explain everything," and they try and explain everything with psychologism and physics. But there are things that are presupposed for the possibility for knowledge at all that cannot be epistemically justified, and every atheist is arbitrary.
Can you epistemically justify God?
Yes.
How?
God, the revealed God, is a necessary precondition for every. We experience a certain a universe with temporal, spatial relations, with essence, with metaphysics, with the uniformity of nature. All of these things presuppose a certain type of metaphysic. It is not the Far Eastern metaphysic. Oh, it's all a contradiction. It's all solipsism.
What type of metaphysical thing does it presuppose?
The revealed God, a metaphysic where there is objective truth, where there are all these things that are strung together on a golden pearl, because they all work together. If you deny any one of them,
can you imagine no God existing and the universe still existing?
No.
You can't imagine it.
No, because I mean, you've denied telos. A universe requires purpose.
Can you imagine a universe existing with a God but not a revelatory God?
No, because how would we have access to anything like logic or physics? We need a personal God, because the divine mind, truth, exists outside my mind and your mind. We have access, so it has to be a revelatory God.
It has to be. It couldn't be a God that created the universe and then just sat back with folded arms and watched.
Absolutely not. No, it's the impossibility of the contrary. That's why transcendental argument.
Why would it be impossible?
Because again, if you deny any of these, it destroys the possibility of everything.
God created the universe with the laws of logic and the preconditions for intelligibility, created all that, but then just let the ball roll down the hill and didn't reveal anything about himself after that.
Because this was the God that was revealed himself in history. And you should look up transcendental.
No, but I'm asking, why is that impossible, what I just said?
Because it's like, okay, you have a cake. If you deny, there's preconditions for a cake. If you deny the milk, the eggs, and the butter, it's not a cake.
You're not denying the eggs, milk, and butter. It's already there.
You are. You're denying.
All you're denying is that this God did anything after providing the milk, eggs, and butter.
Well, I mean, that's like, then it wouldn't be a cake. It wouldn't be a universe. It wouldn't be the universe.
No, the universe exists. So, okay, really imagine this with me. I want you to stay a Christian. I'm not pushing back. Stay whatever you want to believe, but let's just imagine together like philosophers for a second here. Let's imagine that a creator God exists. He creates everything that it needs to start to exist, yes. The laws of nature.
Deism, a clockmaker. Made the clock, and then
So you got everything you need to think, to live, the laws of nature, but he chose not to reveal himself after that, after creating. Why is that impossible?
Because how would you have knowledge of that? How would you have knowledge of that if God never revealed himself? You're saying, how would we know about God if he never revealed himself?
Like Romans 1 says, just by looking at nature. Oh, okay, we know this creator God exists.
Exactly. So,
but this creator God chose to be silent. Maybe he'll reveal himself later. But at this point in history, let's just pretend in this thought experiment that all religions are false. God exists, creates everything that we need, and then sits back and will reveal himself 1,000,000 years from now. Why is that impossible?
Well, because maybe that is, no, this isn't really, it's just like a random hypothetical, because there's the revealed God and what actually happened. You can't deny that. You could hypothetically, but do you have good reasons to believe that God will reveal himself in 1,000,000 years? There's no reason to believe that.
This is a thought experiment. I'm simply just asking you, within this thought experiment, I see nothing logically impossible with what I just proposed.
I mean, there are all sorts of things that are logically impossible. We're talking about a paradigm, a worldview, a web of belief that can give an account for everything in the universe.
Okay, let's talk about why you think that God revealed himself in the Bible. Or do you think that?
Yeah.
Okay, why?
What do you mean why? That's just what he did.
Why do you believe that? What's your reasons?
Because it gives us a worldview that can give an account for everything, and that the Old Testament and the New Testament had all these prophecies that were fulfilled to a T. It was so specific.
Okay, you said two things already. Let's take them one at a time. The first thing you said was what? Something about accounting for...
Yeah, it can give an account. Your worldview can't account for what it assumes.
Okay, so that alone, would you say, is sufficient reason?
What if you can give in a worldview that accounts?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it has to have good reasons to justify what it.
So
what
if someone who, from a religion that you deem false says that my revelation can account for everything, would that mean their God is real and true?
No, well, it's not. There's one God. All these other false religions, there's a difference. This is a word concept fallacy. There's a difference between gods and God. There's only one God, the omni God.
Right. Let's say they
and
believe
all these
in one
other
God.
false gods. Yes, no. These other religions are demons and idols. They are not worshiping the true God. They are worshiping something created. We worship the uncreated, revealed God, the Holy Trinity.
Okay, how do you know yours is the true God and theirs is the false God?
Philosophy, history, their metaphysics make no sense. I mean, like I said, the Far East, they say, oh, it's all a contradiction. Everything's an illusion. Everything's reincarnation. Reincarnation makes everything pointless. No Hindu is consistent when they're balancing their checkbook. They're doing calculus. They're not living like everything is just an illusion.
Couldn't someone from a false worldview look at your worldview and say, this is nonsensical, this is crazy, this is inconsistent?
Those are all arbitrary criteria, and that's why we debate.
Right, and when you say that to them, they say, well, everything you say is arbitrary.
But it isn't. I can give an
like, you do understand that there's many people in the world who will read the Bible and see it as inconsistent, right?
Well, yeah, that's why there's no such thing as a brute fact. You and I can see the same thing, but we interpret everything within a paradigm.
Okay, why do you think they see it as inconsistent? And do you see the Bible as consistent?
Yeah, the Bible is perfectly consistent in any error.
Why do you think you see it as consistent and they don't?
Well, because man has fallen. Our rationale was, I used to be an atheist. It wasn't a logical problem. It's really a problem in the heart. We don't want to follow God. We live in rejection of God.
Right. You're saying they don't see it as consistent because they're fallen.
Yeah.
But don't you believe you're fallen?
Yeah, I'm fallen.
Okay, so why do you see it as consistent and why do you think they don't?
Because I submit to the church and I have good reasons to believe what I believe. And
what are those good reasons?
Because like I said, no other system can give an account for the metaphysics, for everything of the universe. And I can talk about
that deist we just described earlier can.
Okay, you have no knowledge of that, and that is just a hypothetical. You could say, oh, we're hypothetically in a matrix. Okay, it doesn't do any good. There's technically anything is possible. We're talking about what actually happened.
Okay,
revealed them.
How do you know God revealed himself through the scriptures, the Bible? How do you know that actually happened?
Because the New Testament is the best recorded document in the ancient world. I have a book on it by Craig, I forget what his name, but it is the best recorded document from the ancient world. So if you want to deny history,
can something be the best recorded and still false?
There's certain level. It depends what your level of certainty is. You can only be so certain about certain things. In the level of certainty, I have a high level of certainty.
Right, but can something be the best recorded in history and still be false? So imagine Hinduism was the best recorded. Let's say it's not, but let's say it was. Does that make Hinduism true?
No, not the brute fact.
Okay, good. So we can put best recorded on the shelf. What's another reason why you think God actually revealed himself?
No, that's not the same, because the best recorded, does it actually go with what the other sources say? Everyone, the atheists, the Jews, the pagans all confirm that there was Jesus Christ was a real person and he did die. You're trying to arbitrarily say, oh, it's just like the Hindus, it's the best recorded. No, because the events in the
Who says that Jesus Christ was a real person?
Atheists. Secular. Yes, the overwhelming amount of.
Do you know the difference between Jesus and Jesus Christ?
Okay, again, you're getting caught up on such little technicality.
No. This is not a little thing.
They just say they don't know.
Kyle, most people on the planet believe Jesus existed. Most people on the planet do not believe Jesus Christ existed. Do you understand the difference?
Okay. Yes, but if I'm saying they're not consistent because of all these messianic prophecies of everything.
Okay,
that
so let's
explained.
take prophecies.
There's a
That was
book
the
called-
second thing.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best prophecy for that Jesus?
Oh,
this is
okay. So
revealed?
this verse in Isaiah literally makes no sense unless Christianity is true. Isaiah says, if you know the history of Judaism, it was only for the Israelite people. But Isaiah says that the Gentiles will worship Yahweh. So how exactly would that work? How exactly would a small religion, the Israelite people, how would everyone worship the Christian God? How would Jesus, it talks about the virgin birth, he was born in Nazareth, he's of the line of David, all these very specific things that literally make no sense unless Jesus was who he said he was. There's a book on this called The Case for Christ, where an atheist, he comes, he's very skeptical, and he sees there's no way to make the atheist system work. They
Is
are
that J.
consistent.
Warner Wallace?
No, by Lee Strobel.
Oh, Lee Strobel. Right. I get those guys mixed up sometimes. Yeah, Isaiah 53 is pretty good. I admit.
I mean, how does that make sense unless Jesus? I mean, this small religion takes over the entire world.
Has it taken over the entire world?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much everywhere. It's everywhere. It's
what percentage of the world is Christian, or worships Yahweh,
around,
or acknowledges?
Well, okay. So again, truth or falsity isn't amounted by the amount of people that believe it, but it has spread everywhere. Everyone knows.
You just said the entire world.
Yes.
Is that hyperbole, or do you actually think the entire world knows about Yahweh?
Well, okay. This is again. This.
Or do you really mean 95%? Or
not 95%. Most people are like, it's like 25% of the world is Christian. Islam is a heresy that comes later that says Jesus is just a prophet. They believe in Jesus, they just don't think he was God, it's because.
But it's
Muhammad
probably true the entire world and 100% of humans. It's probably true that they don't know Yahweh. There's at least one person out there who doesn't.
Okay, yeah,
right?
Okay.
I mean, so we can throw that.
Know them, but they know them in their heart. They know God in their heart.
But do they know Yahweh in their heart?
Yes, they know the law in their heart.
Okay. What I usually do with prophecies is I ask a very simple question of how you would make this particular prophecy better. Can you think of any way you could make Isaiah 53 better?
No, I would say it's perfect.
You say it's perfect? Does Isaiah 53 mention a bodily resurrection?
I don't know in that specific one. I think it does in some of them. I mean, it has very specific. If you read the Psalms, it's all about.
Is there any prophecy in the Old Testament that says the Messiah will rise bodily from the dead?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head, but there are some. I mean, what does this have to do with?
Well,
that? I mean,
isn't the resurrection the most important part about Christianity?
Yeah.
And so I'm asking a very simple question. If the resurrection, the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ is the most important part of Christianity, wouldn't you think it would be prophesied about?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Let me see. Let's see.
And you would think you would know this off the top of your head.
Why?
Because this is the most important part about Christianity, and you mentioned prophecy.
The Bible is a holistic document. It's conveying God's purpose for humanity. You're like, look at this little thing. It doesn't. I don't know.
This is not a little thing. This is the prophecy about the resurrection of Jesus. I'm asking about. Would you at least admit it's not in Isaiah 53?
No, the resurrection only has its meaning when it's given its context. Everything matters. There's not just the most important. Everything is important. The Bible is a holistic library of books. You're just picking it to say, I got you.
Are we agreed Isaiah 53 doesn't mention the bodily resurrection of Jesus?
Not in that specific. I don't know.
Because when I asked you, how would you make Isaiah 53 better? You said it was perfect.
Okay, there's other verses that talk about it.
So are you admitting that Isaiah 53 is not perfect? Or you could
that's like saying, this one verse doesn't have every specific part of it in it. It's like every verse is important. You're trying to. But yes, it was the most.
If I ask Kyle, if I ask the question, can you make Isaiah 53 better? And if the bodily resurrection of Jesus is the most important part about Christianity, I would think that's the way you could make Isaiah 53 better.
Well, there's other verses that talk about the bodily resurrection.
I know. I'm talking about Isaiah 53.
Okay. Well, that's like saying, the most important part of the story, there's other context to
the most
story.
Important part of the story is not in Isaiah 53, true or false?
It's not in that specific. Why does it matter? Because it's in other parts of the Bible. It's not in that. Does every verse need to say Jesus was resurrected? Jesus was resurrected.
I'm just saying we can make it better, right?
No, because then you. And Isaiah is the Old Testament. You know what the Old Testament is? Why would it talk about?
Why would it talk about the Messiah bodily resurrecting?
No, not in Isaiah. It goes on about it. I'm pulling it up.
Oh.
Testament.
Do you like Mike Licona?
Who's that?
Okay, I guess that's a no.
Who is he?
He's I know you're Orthodox, but he's an evangelical historian, New Testament historian. And I have him on record as saying that there are no prophecies in the Old Testament that refer to the bodily resurrection of the Messiah.
Okay, he's an evangelical. You realize that's a false branch of Christianity. You're like, oh, look at this person who doesn't even believe in Orthodox Christianity.
What makes it false, actually? I'm curious. You don't have to look up this, but we can just let that go.
Okay. You can look it up for yourself. Look up Jews for Jesus. It talks about the bodily resurrection. It's very specific about everything. And the resurrection only gives its meaning if you have all the context. You're saying, oh, if you just, why doesn't this context verse talk about the most important? It's not a good argument.
But why do you think like Christians like Mike Licona, who you don't know, but he's an evangelical Protestant Christian, would you say that, did you say it was a false Christianity?
Yeah, it's you told me at the beginning it only existed 500 years ago.
I know, but what
it's
exactly?
Innovation.
Just because it's newer doesn't mean it's wrong.
In the case of Christianity, yes, it does, because Christianity is a historic religion. We have the apostles.
Were you saying because it's newer, it's more likely to be wrong?
Okay, no, you're misrepresenting.
Because isn't Christianity newer than Judaism?
No.
So it's more. Yep. Therefore, Christianity is more likely to be wrong.
No, okay. No, Protestantism. Okay, so there's all these prophecies. They fulfill Jesus. Jesus is a fulfillment of Christianity. Protestantism is a heresy that comes 1,500 years later, because Christianity.
But what's heretical about it?
It's about because they teach an entirely new gospel.
For example,
sola fide, sola scriptura. They are anti-monastic. They don't even have a liturgy. They don't have incense. They don't have a priesthood. They don't have confession. It's totally wrong. If you want to understand, read this, Rock and Sand by Father Josiah Tremont. He was a Protestant evangelical who became Orthodox.
Okay, let's pick one of those. You said sola scriptura?
Yes, sola scriptura.
That means like that the Bible
alone.
Is the main authority.
They don't need tradition. The church is the main authority. The church gave us.
How do you know the church is the main authority?
Because Christ established it at Pentecost. The Holy Spirit.
How do you know Christ established it at Pentecost?
Because it was revealed to us, and we have the oral tradition. I mean, what?
How do you know that was oral tradition?
Because it's been passed down to us. Because we have visual images. We have icons in first century.
Because it was written down, Kyle.
No, we have the archaeological evidence
in the Bible.
Okay. What's this? Is this supposed to be a?
So my point is, even church tradition is based on sola scriptura.
No, it isn't. What? Do you know what sola scriptura is? You're an atheist.
Yes, that the Bible is the final authority.
No, not it's no.
That scripture is the final authority.
That's not no. It's that we just need the scripture. We don't need tradition. That's what sola scriptura.
Right, but all your traditions stem from the oral traditions that were written down.
Not all of them were written down. Like the harrowing of Hades, that wasn't written down. But again, we have the oral tradition. So this is we're not just referring to the Bible.
To me, this is just fun. I'm just kind of, I admit it's a weakness of mine to put a wedge between Protestants and non-Protestants. But I just think that, I do think that a lot of Protestants become Roman Catholics or Orthodox when it suits them. But I do think that that even the Orthodox and the Catholics, they have to admit that what they believe is based on these oral traditions that were written down, and they read them.
Okay, they're oral traditions. They aren't written down. Some of them were written down, but some of them weren't written down.
Yeah.
I don't understand how. I'm just saying you can, like, you're here, like, arguing, having a conversation with me. It's all kind of presupposing that we ought to follow the true over the false. There's no reason to follow the true or the false on your beliefs. Why should we?
Survival.
Why is survival good? That's just your arbitrary taste preference.
Because I want to survive.
Exactly. So you're just
Yeah.
being ad hoc. I want to survive. That's
Why is
your
that ad
argument.
hoc? Don't you want to live?
But I have epistemic certainty. I can actually
You
justify.
have
It's just
certainty?
you're arguing your feelings. You're saying I want to survive, therefore survival is good.
Well,
That's
there
not an
might come a
argument.
day where I won't.
What?
There might come a day where I won't want to survive.
Exactly. So then,
Yeah.
if everyone wants to die, should we just do that? I mean, it's a big, empty, meaningless universe. Why should we do anything?
What would be
There's
wrong
no
with
ethics.
that, actually?
There's no wrong. You're right. There's no wrong on your
No,
system.
no, on
There's
your
no right.
worldview. On your worldview, what would be wrong if God destroyed all of us tomorrow? Nothing, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't think God would do that. God's a just God. So, I mean, you saying that, I mean, what is
Or
that?
actually, what would be
Nothing-
wrong if man did that?
Because humans are made in the image of God. We haven't. And what would be wrong on your worldview? If we just all
Because some people
killed
want to
ourselves,
live, but
So-
actually, it's an interesting question. I remember it was posed to me when I was an undergraduate. An atheist. I was a Christian at the time, and an atheist asked me that question. And the more I think about it, like let's say an alien from another world had the technology to, without warning, none of us suffer, just gone. In your worldview, that would be bad because we're made in the image of God?
aliens don't exist. That's a fairy tale.
I know. This is another hypothetical, but you would say that it would be wrong because we're made in the image of. What about us being made in the image of God makes that wrong?
Because we have an inherent dignity. What makes it wrong on your worldview? We're nothing. We're literally just evolved monkeys. Like where's the monkey value? Because monkey have value because we say monkey has value. I mean, it's
Sure.
just,
I like. You think that value only counts if it comes from God?
well, it has to come more somewhere objective,
Why does
not
it have
just
to?
human constructs.
Why does it have to?
Because it's not because otherwise it's just subjective. I mean, you could say that, but it's just
Why
subjective.
is subjective worse than objective?
What kind of question? Why is subjective?
seriously,
Do you want to know what's actually right, or do you want to know someone's opinion? Like your opinion that I like survival. Okay, why? A lot of people don't. Should they kill themselves? I don't think so.
Why
I
not?
think because they were made in the image of God. They were made
Okay,
for a
but why
purpose.
it-
Their life is
I'm trying to get at what. Just because they're made in the image of God, why does that matter?
because they have an inherent dignity.
Okay, and why does an inherent dignity matter?
Because that's where it has objective value. There is no value on atheism. There's objective
But why
value.
does
It
that
exists.
type of objective value matter?
That's okay because it's objective. It
So
exists outside.
you see what I'm
that's
doing
like
here?
saying why
You
but-
basically are
you
left
realize
with saying
you- no,
it's
no.
just so.
because you're arguing subjective presuppositions. I'm arguing objective presuppositions. So I can get to the foundation of your belief and show, your foundation is arbitrary. Eventually, you're going to get to the end of the argument.
Right.
And there is objective.
That's what I'm trying to get at. That's why I keep on asking, why is this bad? Why is this bad? Basically, at the end of it, the only thing you can say is because God said so.
Yes, because it's been revealed
Yeah.
to us that there is objective value. On your system, you just said, my feelings.
I'm not a feelings type guy. If you know me, like if I know you're new to me, but if I make a lot of atheists mad because I sometimes talk like you. I say, I say toughen up. I say the world's an unhappy place. It's tough. It's rough, and you know.
Why should we be tough though?
Well, if you want to survive, like you have to.
Why does anyone want to survive? What's
Some
the
people
point?
do.
We're all
Some
gonna
people
die
don't.
anyway. So if everyone wanted to kill themselves, end the universe, I mean, that's basically what they're doing. I mean, they're promoting mass depopulation, and the atheists are just going along with it. You can see the atheist birth rates. Atheism is the best form of birth control.
Atheists suck at reproducing.
They do, because it's a suicidal philosophy and ideology.
Why am I still alive, you think, if I'm an atheist?
Do you have any kids?
Yeah.
How many?
2.
Okay, that's good. Well, you are a conservative. So that makes sense. More conservative-minded people do put a value. But I'm just saying you're not a consistent. I think it'd be more consistent. Like I said, if you want to really get
But why do you think I haven't committed suicide yet?
Because I don't know. You haven't. I mean, there's no point in committing.
Because I have an
suicide.
inconsistent worldview. Why?
No, I'm saying that that's the end result of your worldview. Is
right, but that end result
nothing.
seems like it doesn't make a difference because here I am.
Okay, but a lot of people are. You can look at Gen Z. They're lonely. They're depressed. The suicide
But
rate
I'm
is
not
going
lonely. I'm not depressed. You can
Okay,
ask
that's
anybody who
just-
knows me. I'm
Yeah.
actually
Okay.
the opposite. Like,
Well, that's
people actually get mad at me because I don't worry about things and not depressed about things. I literally can count on one hand the amount of times I've been anxious in my life.
okay.
Why?
Well,
I'm an atheist. I truly don't
okay.
believe any gods exist, and yet here I
Okay.
am, happy and
I'm not saying you can't be happy or you can't do good things. I'm just saying you can never have justification because it's completely meaningless on your universe. I mean, you think the world is
But
meaningless,
the only
right?
justification I think you will accept is your worldview, right? Like if I could say
Well, yeah.
something, and let's say I try to justify my worldview, you will just knock it down and say, but that's not, it's absurd, it's not consistent, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. You'll just say that, right?
Well,
I've
unless
talked
you
to,
have good reasons.
Kyle, I've talked to Christians who will justify their Christianity by saying they went to a Christian rock concert and got a certain feeling in their heart.
Well, that's basically what you're doing. You're saying I like survival because I
Right,
feel
right.
it in
But
my
you're
heart.
saying that's bad, right?
Well,
That's not
I'm
a
just
good
saying,
justification.
yeah, there's bad reasons to believe good things. That's the fallacy. Just because a lot of Christians suck at
Right. So
debating
I'm
does
asking,
not
what is
mean
a good justification?
the transcendental argument for God, a transcendental argument.
But does that get you to your specific worldview?
Yeah.
That Jesus rose from the dead?
Well, yes.
Really?
hmm Yeah.
So if I
The
look up philosophical books on the tag arguments, I will find the word Jesus in there?
Well, people can have different opinions, but if you want to read a really good paper, read Russ Mannion's. It's called The Theory of Relative Knowledge. You should have on Jay Dyer and what's it called? Father Deacon Ananias. They're epistemology experts. They're much more philosophically trained than me. If you want to actually hear the transcendental argument for God given in the best way, check it out. And I mean, Jay Dyer has debated Matt Dillahunty, and he totally destroyed him in the debate. So yeah, just if you want, again, just because people use the transcendental, I mean, there's lots of different transcendental arguments. There's transcendental argument for logic, for the self. Just
Have you ever heard a naturalist use tag arguments?
no, because they believe in natural theology. They're a naturalist.
Natural theology?
Yeah.
So you've never heard it? Like, couldn't someone just replace God with the cosmos, the universe, and use tag arguments?
No, because they're contradictory positions. Natural theology is built on classical foundationalism, and
Right.
transcendental argumentation is not. They're mutually exclusive.
No, like logic comes from as a property of the universe. You've never heard stuff like that?
No, because they start with a brute fact of what we're experiencing. They don't make the transcendental argument. They're making. I get why you're confused on them, but they aren't the same thing.
But in other words, someone starts with God, or they can start with the cosmos. That's what the point I'm making.
No, because it's not saying that the cosmos is a net. No, because just the brute fact of a cosmos does not. Yeah, that's not the same thing. That's natural.
Well, I know it's
theology.
not the same. Yeah, it's not the same thing. But if that's their starting point. So let's say I was to ask you, why does the laws of logic exist, or why does logic exist, or why is there uniformity in nature? You would say because it is an outflow of God's nature. Is that close?
I mean, I guess you could say that.
Okay, and then now replace God with the universe. It's why does these things exist? Because it's an outflow of the properties.
Okay, but
of nature.
because how does the brute fact of nature? How does nature get you metaphysics? There's no physical.
There is no
evidence for
metaphysics.
Okay. Well, the transcendental
No.
argument.
I'm saying that someone could argue this way. They could just say there is no metaphysics, or what you mean by metaphysics.
That's a self. They refuted themselves because when you make words, you're using metaphysics. You're using something.
And someone could just say, I disagree with that.
Okay. Well, that's not an argument. I disagree with metaphysics. I agree that again.
They would just say these are properties of the universe. No intangibleness involved.
Okay, then where do they exist? Where does logic exist?
Logic is the property, an outflowing of the properties of the universe.
Where does it exist?
Where?
Where's it test? Yeah, you're
within the universe.
Where?
In the corner of Main Street and First.
Do you have good reasons to believe
it exists everywhere?
It exists everywhere.
It's omnipresent, like God.
What? Wait,
omnipresent? Whenever you have
Where's ethics? Where's well-being? I don't see it in the test tube. Where is it?
It is a property of humans, of how they
do you have knowledge
interact.
of it?
What?
How do you have knowledge of it?
Same way you do.
I have knowledge because there's a divine.
Observations?
No, because there's a divine mind that has a person that has revealed himself
Is that a brute
through
fact?
history. Yeah. Well, no, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as a brute fact. But I'm saying that many people theorize metaphysics very close to Christianity, understanding like Plato, but obviously he got some things very wrong. He's very ad hoc, saying, "Oh, we were just reincarnated." That's what Plato says. No, because Christianity is the
Why do you
only
think most
consistent metaphysics.
philosophers don't adopt your worldview?
There's lots of reasons.
Give me one.
We're fallen man. They're not aware of it. They've been deceived because there's a constant stream of propaganda in television, in the news. We live in a very
Propaganda, deception.
We live in a very anti-intellectual age. I mean, what's his name? Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, they're entertainers.
Stephen
But I'm talking
but they say don't do philosophy. I mean, Christopher Hitchens,
I know,
Harris,
but
you're
my
top
question,
guys.
Kyle, my question to you is: imagine very academically intellectual philosophers in the world who do this for a living, have PhDs, and we were to take all of them and we put them in the room and we show of hands. How many people here believe that Christianity, that worldview, is the correct one? What's your guess? Do you think most people would raise their hand or not?
I have no idea. What does that have to do? Like,
my point is, when you appeal to the tag arguments and all these philosophical arguments for God, and yet people who specialize in this business don't adopt your worldview, I ask the question, why? If it's so obvious.
Maybe they haven't heard it. I mean, you could say this argument 500 years ago.
They're philosophers. They specialize in this.
Okay, but not every one of them. They all have different focuses. Philosophy is a huge field. Some of them hyper-focus on ethics or metaphysics, epistemology.
Okay, that's a good point.
Questions.
You're talking about philosophy of religion.
Yeah, philosophy. There's lots of philosophy of science. There's lots of, and also think about this argument 500 years ago. Everyone believed in a God. Does that make it true? No, it doesn't. Just because people have ideas about God, and maybe, I mean, there's lots of factors, like the amount of people. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I think if they heard it and they had a debate with someone who could present it in a
so they're ignorant.
Good way.
Yeah, I get you. I understand. Okay, the science. You're a young Earth creationist.
Yeah, I don't believe in that Hindu fairy tale.
Why do you say Hindu?
Well, because it's just like the ancient Hindu fairy tales. Oh, there's a rock, and then it turned into a fish, and then a monkey. It's the same thing. And I mean, Charles Darwin was not some neutral fact seeker.
Okay, how do you think the universe came to be?
It was created.
Was it created from stuff or ex nihilo, or what do you think?
Ex nihilo.
Okay, so we had nothing. So something came from nothing.
Yeah.
But God did it.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did he do it?
I don't know.
No, like do you believe the Genesis narratives in Genesis 1 and 2?
Yeah. Okay,
so you believe God created man, for example, from actual clay of the dirt?
Something like that. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, see, you're getting hyper focused. Oh, look at God said clay.
I'm just asking what you believe.
It's a holistic message. So I believe, this is what I believe. So I used to be a Darwin believer, but then I started to actually, question my assumptions. I actually had to take a philosophy of science class, and I saw, I had to debate evolution versus creationism. And what I saw was that evolution, the ancient Earth people have so many assumptions, because what they do, if you know how they get the dating methods, it's a billion, and they change it every day. They're like, actually, we were 100.
I'm not asking you what you don't believe currently. I'm asking what you do believe currently. So you believe.
I believe that the world is at least 10,000 to 6,000 years old. I have no idea if it's older. I'm just saying the methods that they use, they extrapolate on data. It can never be justified. We've never seen macroevolution. I understand what evolution is. The fine tuning, it's random. It's natural selection. It's just random mutations. I mean, Darwin saw like a finch's beak change. That's microevolution. That's a fine.
Okay, so you believe that man was created from dirt by God?
Yes. He was created by.
Do you believe
dust.
that?
Don't you believe the humans were made by stardust? We're all stardust.
Yeah.
So I mean, we believe the same thing.
So we have something in common.
Yeah.
So I'm just getting at what you believe, and you believe that woman was created literally from the rib of man.
Yeah, Adam and Eve are really the first people.
Okay, and then you believe that humans started to repopulate or populate the earth.
Yeah, populate. There was
So
no human.
Adam had sex with Eve and had kids, and those kids had sex with each other.
Maybe in the first generation, but again, it's not getting hyper focused on. Oh, it's always again, God always wills the good. That's there may be certain things you need. The Bible needs to be read in its context and understand God's purpose for humanity. So yes, that may have happened in one generation, but again, God is perfectly good.
Well, it would have to happen in many generations if they were the first two people. And that they were, would you believe there were other people other than Adam and Eve that God created other people?
There
just
could be.
those two?
I don't know. There could be. I don't get caught up in the exact details of that. I
So
just
you
know
don't,
the universe.
so do you do or don't believe that Adam and Eve were the first two?
I do believe this is what I believe. I believe the universe was created. I believe it's at least 10,000, 6,000 years old because that's what human history says, and that they were the literal people. After that, I'm not really sure what happened. I don't think it's really relevant.
Okay. And do you believe that they were put in a garden, a literal garden, and that there was a tree that God told them not to eat?
Yeah.
And you believe that Eve got deceived or was asked by some questions by a serpent?
Yep, probably.
And that's how the fall
Something
came?
like that. Yes.
Okay.
We rejected God and followed our own will.
Okay. And do you believe that God knew that would happen?
Yeah, he's all-knowing. God respects our free will.
God
You don't have
respects
to
our
love God.
Do you think that would have happened if God didn't put the tree in?
Yeah, we probably would have sinned anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, like some Christians believe that the tree is not actually that important because Christians.
No, I think the tree is important. I think it's just it's a holistic message.
Okay, so that's how the fall happened. I'm just trying to get at what you believe. And then humans populated the earth, and then they became really evil, and then God wiped them all out except for Noah's family. You believe that?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's so much evidence for it. I have a video coming out eventually on my channel. Ken Ham, Kurt Wise, Steve Austin have all done amazing work. There's so much stuff that doesn't make sense, like the Grand Canyon. It had to be large swaths of water rapidly. There's skeletons on the top of the Himalayas.
I've always been curious. Where do you think the water came from?
I don't know.
Because that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Where do you think it went? Where'd it go?
The climate's always been changing. I mean, there was an ice age. Why was there an ice age? I mean, or all this stuff. I mean, the stuff changes.
I know, but imagine, like, you believe the earth is spherical, I hope.
Yes.
Okay,
yes, I believe
thank goodness. But if you just imagine, like, going to the height of Mount Everest, you have to go above that. Even if it was lower back then, still, that's pretty high. And then you have to cover the whole globe with all that water. Like, where does it go? Where did it come from? These are like,
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's weird though. Do you think it's just a miracle, or do you think it's naturalistic?
I have no idea. Probably a combination of both. I don't get caught up in the exact details. I mean, no one can know. No one can know what happened thousands that far ago, like the creation of humanity. I mean,
no one can know what happened thousands of years ago. I thought it's in the book.
Well, I meant in the they can't know for certain. We have the stories, and there's a universal flood story. Like people who have no relation to the Bible, like the Aztecs, have a flood story. It's a universal story of humanity.
My guess is the universe back then was considered 1,000-kilometer radius in the Middle East area. But anyhow, so it's not a surprise to me if there was a big flood that many different cultures would have written about it or had oral traditions.
But the Aztecs are they're on the other side of.
They have a flood story at that time too?
Yes, they have a flood story. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Huh.
Cultures that are completely separate from each other have a flood story.
Why do you think God started humans at Adam and Eve and not Noah? If he knew with certainty all that would happen anyhow and he had to start again. Why not just go start the world with Noah?
Because God respects our free will and autonomy. You can do whatever you want.
I know, but it seems like a waste of flesh.
Well, he gave them a chance. Every person deserves a chance. Do
you think things would have turned out different if humans would have chosen different?
I have no idea. I know God always had a plan.
What I'm getting at is, like, if God knew with certainty that he would have to end up flooding the earth anyhow, isn't that what would have to happen?
Okay, but he still wanted to give them their free will and let them actually decide for themselves.
But could they have done otherwise? Could Eve have chosen
Yeah.
not to?
Yeah.
She could have chosen to do otherwise.
Yes, she had free will.
Did God know before Eve was even created that Eve would do what she did?
Yes, God's all-knowing.
So do you believe
Like, just because...
the future is set? Do you believe the future is set?
No, I'm not a determinist. Knowing
so
is
there's
the
many
same thing
futures.
No, there's only one future.
There's only one future. That's what I kind of mean. It's if there's only one future, then whatever God knows that one future to be, that's what will happen. Yes.
Okay, but like you watch a movie and you know what's going to happen. It doesn't mean you control what's going to happen.
I'm not talking about control. I'm just talking about if that movie's on tape, then whatever's on that tape is going to happen when you watch it, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
so the characters on the tape, they can't do anything other than what's on the tape.
No, again, it's trying to compare something created in reality to something uncreated. God, in his infinite wisdom, we cannot fully understand this, and so you're trying to use something created, like, oh, it's like a movie. Like I brought it up, but it's unlike anything. So it's very advanced, but we do have free will.
Yeah, I understand a lot of Christians don't like when I bring this up, but like you believe you have free will.
Yeah. And
you believe I think you would say God would know the exact time and day of your death, right?
Yeah.
So let's say it is in the year 2050 is when God knows you're going to die, which is actually not too far away.
Yeah.
Do you have the free will to commit suicide tomorrow?
Yeah.
But then God knew wrong.
No, because God would already know that.
No, God is. Okay, so let's say God knows you're going to commit suicide tomorrow. Do you have the free will not to and live to the age 50?
Yes, you have the free will no matter what. Like you're trying to understand something first? That unlimited.
God's knowledge or your free will of. It seems like you're saying
this
God
is a false
dependent.
Dichotomy.
No, you're saying that God's foreknowledge is dependent on mere mortals.
No, we have free will. God just knows what's going to happen. I don't think we're getting anywhere with this.
Yeah.
You want to like, I just think God's mind is infinite. You're trying to understand.
So it's a mystery.
Something. Yeah. There's some mysteries.
Let's get back to Genesis with the flood thing. You're up in heaven with Yahweh. And Yahweh says to you, Kyle, look at the mess down there. I'm going to have to exercise my justice. And I can do it either two ways. One, through drowning, except for Noah's family, or I can just instantaneously poof them out of existence. They don't see it coming, no pain whatsoever, just poof, they're gone. And he's giving you, Kyle, these two options. They're both moral because God's giving them. And he asks you, I just want to know what you think. What should I do?
So have you seen floods that happen so fast that people die instantly? That's happened before, right?
Sure.
So that's what happened. They died instantly. They didn't suffer.
So you're saying that no one treaded water?
No. They died instantly. It was I mean, how much water it would take. It literally made the Grand Canyon because how much water there was.
Oh man, that means Sunday school lied to me because they had pictures of people banging on the door.
Well, yeah, you went to some Protestant Sunday school, right?
Didn't it take a while for the floodwaters to get past their head? Like, wouldn't they be panicking and suffering with just
it instantly killed them. That's another testimony to there was a worldwide flood. Is we have skeletons where people are like stuck in mid-action, the skeletons. And I mean, you can watch Is Genesis History. They go in depth in geological.
So does your belief that people were instantly killed in the flood? What if they weren't? Let's say it was a normal situation where the heavens opened up, water started coming down, and of course, it takes time for the water to rise, the levels to rise. And people saw what was happening, started to fear, emotionally, psychologically, they're seeing their impending death, and they start to cling onto branches and stuff and float, and then they realize, no, this is it. Water starts to fill their lungs. You're saying that didn't happen? No. What if it did?
Well, it didn't.
But what if it did? Would you think any less of your God?
No, because God's all good.
Right. I mean, if God is all good, then even if what I said did happen, then it shouldn't make a difference to you,
Yeah,
right?
but that's not what happened. But yeah, you're right. So what
So
is
you're
it?
saying that the ark actually went from sitting on the ground to immediately being mountains high up in the water. That took no time.
I don't know exactly how it happened. I just know
Well,
there was
if
an
people were
actual
to
arc.
die instantly, like you're suggesting, that's what would have to happen. The ark would have to go from sitting on the ground to being like thousands,
Yeah,
maybe thousands of feet above water instantaneously.
yeah. Or maybe that part didn't have. Maybe it took longer time. I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that there was an ark. There's overwhelming amount of evidence there was a worldwide flood.
And why do you think, getting back to the science part of this whole thing, um, why do you think Christians, so many Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, atheists of different types of science, geology, chemistry, physics, why do you think they all converge on the earth being old? They all believe, and
Um,
besides atheists, they all believe in God.
mhm.
How, and a lot of them don't even talk to each other. They're in different countries.
Yeah.
Why do they all
Okay, but
converge on the same or similar answers that at least
because
it's older than 10,000?
that's just the mainstream science. Science has been so wrong. I mean, there's like the dark energies they're speculating about when they're like, oh, actually, our model is wrong, and the dark energies may not even exist. So the lab coats have no problem just extrapolating on the data. They don't care. They teach stuff as dogma. That's why, because I mean, that was the mythology of the British Empire. The British Empire took over the entire world. So in that same British ideology went to America, this Anglo-Saxon British supremacy. So it makes sense that the civilization that took over the world, that's why that ideology is going to be everywhere, because of geopolitics.
So you think this politics has uniformly spread to such a degree that people, when they do their science within their field, they're being manipulated, or what are you
Well,
saying?
not necessarily, because macroevolution is it's an unfalsifiable position. So again, it's based on an interpretation, that's the common interpretation. So it's going to make sense that the common interpretation is going to be the interpretation of the world, because they're operating on the same assumptions. But the creationists, question their assumptions. And so I think there's going to be a rollback of Darwinism, because there is a growing amount of scientists that do not approve it. There are mathematicians that say it's mathematically impossible. There are so many flaws in this fantasy.
I know.
And
To me, it just seems weird that this would have to be the biggest conspiracy on planet Earth.
it's not a conspiracy. It doesn't, most people really don't care at all. I mean, it's like saying,
Right. But that's
yeah.
to the evolutionists' benefit if they don't care.
Exactly. So I'm not saying, oh, it's some grand conspiracy. I'm just saying that's just like what was popular, and it's spread across the world, and people are operating on those same
But it wasn't
assumptions.
always popular. There was a time when very few people believed the Earth was billions of years old. Right?
Okay.
So at
Well,
some point it had to come to be.
well, you understand science has become very institutionalized, big business. People's egos have got involved, and they're not just going to let you disprove their grand dogma. They say, oh, it's pseudoscience. There are
Most
so many people,
scientists are not that wealthy.
they make their money off of their studies. They're going to have a financial interest in propping up their system. If they were proven wrong, it would discredit them.
Yeah, but it also credits the person who proved them wrong.
Okay, but it also helps them to discredit the proven person who would prove them
So
wrong.
it's like
There's people.
it's a check and balance thing, right?
It is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's all about power structures. And to understand Darwinism, again, what happened right after Darwinism came? We get scientific racism, eugenics, Nazism, social Darwinism, because if we're all just monkeys, why does it matter? It's just your tribe. It's just survival of the fittest. The morality of Darwinism is evil. In this eugenics, this abortion, this sterilization, this anti-human rhetoric is all because of Charles Darwin and his mythology. And it was propped up on fraud. I mean, you can look up Nebraska Man, Piltdown Man, Ernest Hagel's fake drawings that are still in embryo books today. They don't care about the truth. It's like no one's going to check them. And the people that they check, they just, oh, that's pseudoscience. And they purposely promote false conspiracy theories like flat earth to discredit conspiracy theory. Oh, you believe in conspiracy theory? You must be a flat earther. It's totally a manipulated psyop.
But when you go to the zoo and look at the apes and the chimpanzees, you don't see any similarities between you and them?
Do you see a similarity between you and a koala?
Yeah.
No, they are not related whatsoever. They develop totally separate. So again, similarity does
No,
not
I mean
mean we
like
all.
very basic. Like we both
Well,
eat and poop.
okay, koala, things that fish eat and poop, all these things that have no, even in the evolutionary believer's mindset, these things are completely separate, and yet they eat and poop. Eat and poop, therefore we came from fish and monkey. How do you
No, I'm not
explain
making any. I'm not. All I'm saying is there's similarities between us and other animals, right?
but how does that prove we came from fish and monkeys?
Well, I guess then that begs the question:
It's
why? Why are these
because we were
similarities?
made by the creator. Um,
Okay, yeah. So that's one explanation. Now, do you think God made us so similar to the apes? Like we kind of. I don't know if you've seen bonobos or chimpanzees, but
yeah.
a lot of them walk on two legs
Mm-hmm.
like we do.
Yeah.
I saw the other day on YouTube. He knew how to put the shoes the right way. The left goes on the left foot. Put the shoes on. Start walking
Yeah.
around. Like it's kind of unnerving, isn't it?
Yeah, but they can't use logic. Wouldn't you say there's a big difference
They
between
can't use
that and a
logic.
human? Yes. No, they can't actually like they can do logical things, but it's not like they're consciously like they don't have the
Like even my
rationale for
own
them.
dog. Like I play ball. I have a tennis ball and I play in the house. And I throw it against the wall, and the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. And my dog can figure
So,
that out.
so did we come from dogs?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that dogs, animals, they
God made smart
use
animals.
God made smart animals, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're another type of smart animal.
Why, do you have any evidence for that? I mean, that's just your
I'm
belief.
asking a
That's just
question.
a,
Maybe I'm proposing a, a situation where we maybe are like chimpanzees who can sometimes do really bad things and some really good things. Like, have you ever seen animals care for their young?
yeah.
Have you
God
seen
made the animals are good. We have
right?
dominion over the animals because
Have you seen
we
animals
got
actually share? I've seen animals share, take their food and give it to someone else, and
hmm
protect.
yeah.
And then I've also seen animals rip each other open. That
Yeah.
describe Isn't it weird how that also describes us humans?
Okay. Yeah. How does that mean we came from a monkey? Because we're similar.
Well, then we get into the genetics. Maybe we act this way because we have similar genetics.
How did you get the genetics in the first place? How did you get the first DNA?
God did it. But
No, no,
maybe
no. On your
God used evolution to create what
no,
we
he didn't.
see.
He didn't. I don't believe in that. No.
Why not?
No.
Why is
Yeah.
that?
No. Because there's no proof for it. There's no proof. How did DNA? So God made DNA, and he just no. Where on your worldview, where did DNA come from? It's like literal code. Where
It's
did that come from?
from the universe.
No, no, okay, no, no, no. Where did it actually come from? The universe? Where and how did it? How did the planets come
Where did the
together?
universe come from?
Yeah.
So it's existed. The
It all.
cosmos.
Wait. You believe in static universe?
No, I'm just saying that no matter what, whether it's static or bouncing like a ball, big, small, or always been small and then exploded, whatever the case is, the category of natural things has always existed.
How do you know that? When did it start? When was the first life? All I'm saying is the first life form was a lot closer to what we currently are. That's all I'm saying because we don't know. You're speculating. So you have the claim.
I'm speculating.
Yes.
Are you
Where did
speculating? Are
DNA?
you speculating that God's always existed?
No, because it was revealed to
Because
us. We have a philosophy.
because
Now
it's been
explain
revealed
to
to you.
yes. So now explain how the DNA came about. I
Well,
actually have a
I
book.
don't know.
So you don't know. Okay, so when did humans start evolving then? Because all I'm saying is humans and
Scientists say
every
like what is it, several hundred million years ago?
okay, but what did we evolve from? Like what was the first life form?
Pond scum.
How'd that come to be? From nothing?
No, some people say bottom of the ocean, there's some type of vent.
Event. Do
Yeah,
we have a
and they didn't,
can
and
I
there was no
can,
oxygen in the early stages
so have we
of the
ever
Earth,
seen
and so
this?
therefore the hydrogen had to combine with carbon.
Have we observed this and repeated this, or is this
No,
just your
the Homo
speculation?
sapiens have only existed for a couple 100,000 years, so we couldn't have observed it.
Okay, so then it's just an unfalsifiable belief. How would I disprove it?
You mean you have to actually observe it in order to say it's real with your
Well,
own eyes?
yeah, if you're going to speculate about millions of years ago, I
Were
can
you there
ask.
when Adam and Eve was in the garden?
we have a historical story that explains
How
a
do you know it's a
story.
historical story? Were you there?
Okay, there's different. This is not everything is proven in the same way.
Anything you say to me, I can say right back at you.
No, because history and science are proven differently, and you're saying, oh, the bottom of the sea, it just randomly came together.
But you
Okay,
weren't
and then
there when God made the garden. You weren't there when God made the heavens and earth. You weren't there. Nobody was there.
If you see a murder and you just speculate about what happens, is that the same as going to a witness and asking for a story? No, it's not. You trust the person who has the story, not the person who says, look it, I see a murder.
Who's the witness of the Garden of Eden? And that Adam and Eve-
Humanity.
Who?
Humanity.
No. Who witnessed God make Adam and Eve?
People who experience a story can report the story too.
What do you mean by experience the story? Who experienced the story of Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve, the people who were created.
They experienced themselves be created, okay?
Yes, and then yes.
And you're saying they wrote it down?
Maybe it was probably oral tradition. Maybe there was some writings, but it was mainly probably oral tradition. Again, and like I said, it's a shared story of humanity. So you can deny history, but you're gonna have to go around the route of denying Plato, Aristotle, Caesar's Gallican Wars. So why am I gonna trust? Oh, just the planets randomly came together.
Wait a minute. You say that if a person denies the Genesis story, they're denying all history?
Well, I'm saying that they deny the New Testament, which is which satisfies the Old Testament, and the Old Testament is reliable. So in that, if you apply this, oh, I'm skeptical of the Bible. Well, then why don't you apply that same skepticism to Plato?
Well, people do, and I do.
So you deny that Plato existed?
No, I don't deny Jesus existed.
Okay.
I'm consistent.
Okay, that's good.
If Plato wrote that he got on a horse and it started floating up in the air and he flew all the way to Americas and back on a horse, would you believe it if you actually wrote it down?
That's a hypothetical. He didn't write that, and he didn't.
If he did, would you believe it?
There's different genres of history. We can tell if it's fiction, if it's supposed to be historical, if it's poetry, etc.
What's the genre of Josephus? History, right?
Yeah, history.
Do you know Josephus writes some really crazy stuff?
Maybe.
About gods impregnating women and or a snake going up a woman's vagina and she got pregnant, stuff like this.
Okay. Again,
do you believe that actually happened in history?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Josephus.
Because if you don't, then you're denying all history. You see what I'm getting at?
No, because how many other people confirm his story? Exactly. This is how you determine the truth. You have these circles, and there's overlapping circles, and you see, oh, they all overlap that Jesus did exist, that he was a real person, that he was crucified, and maybe there's these other stories, but they are outside the circle. They're the only ones claiming that. Versus everyone agrees on.
So you would say it's a historical fact that Jesus existed?
Yes, Jesus Christ.
Okay. Would you say it's a historical fact that Jesus walked on water?
Yeah.
Do you think historians who study the New Testament would agree with you?
It depends their paradigm. We interpret everything within a paradigm.
So do you think you have to be in this paradigm to say that it's a historical fact that Jesus walked on water?
Not necessarily. Some people can say, well, he did walk on water. I don't know. He could be God. I don't know. Some people just don't know. Some people say, no, I don't believe that part. Some people say, yes, it did.
Like if I told you I had a neighbor named Myron down the street, and he came down to my other day, I have a pool in my backyard, and he walked on my pool on the water, would you believe me?
Yeah, I mean, not again.
You would believe me?
I thought you said no. If he walked on water, no, I wouldn't.
Why not? Why wouldn't you believe me?
Because it's just you. It's what you said. Versus in the New Testament, it's thousands, it's hundreds of people all claiming this.
My whole community, the whole gated community came and saw it. There was hundreds of us. Would you believe it now?
The whole community?
And I wrote it down. If I gave you that paper and wrote it down and showed you, would you believe my neighbor walked on water?
I don't know, maybe.
Why maybe? Wouldn't it be a slam dunk yes? Because that's what we have in the New Testament. You just said we've got thousands.
No. But it's over a repeated time. It's like not just one event. That's just one event. If your friend walked on water 10 times and then people went and died for that testimony, I don't think anyone's going to die saying, oh my gosh, that neighbor walked on water. People literally died because they're like, I know what I saw. Jesus was resurrected. People are not going to die for that. and it only happened once. It's not
Oh,
the
okay.
same
You're
thing.
saying that it's more important because they died knowing that Jesus was resurrected.
They died for that testimony.
How do you know that they died for that?
Because that's what these are hundreds of Christian martyrs.
Yeah, but how do you know they died knowing that Jesus rose from the dead, and that's what they died
Because
for?
they people who had everything to lose, like literally they joined the Christians and they died painful, awful deaths. Like St. Paul, he was literally killing Christians, but Jesus visited him and he's like, oh, I'm actually going to join the Christians after killing them. And then eventually he was martyred. I don't think someone does that. I don't think they willfully just endure pain and suffering just because they like it, unless they actually saw something, like they witnessed the
Is there
Jesus.
anybody in the New Testament who actually says with their own words that they saw Jesus rise from the dead?
I mean, I don't know offhand, but yes.
Because you made the claim, like who would die for seeing something they saw? I mean, who would deny that? But I'm just asking a very simple question: who actually said they saw Jesus rise from the dead in the New Testament?
St. Paul.
Right, Paul did. And when did he see Jesus rise from the dead?
After he died.
Did Paul know Jesus when Jesus died?
I'm not sure. I mean, he probably knew his. I'm not sure.
Well, the answer is no.
Probably aware.
Paul,
How do you know that?
Paul, because it says in the book of Acts.
The book. Okay.
That
where?
That on the road to Damascus. That's when Paul had this revelation of Jesus.
Okay.
Right.
Road to Damascus. Okay.
And he was persecuting Christians according to Acts. And then he had this experience. He says in 1 Corinthians 15 that Jesus appeared to the 500, to the 12, and finally to him.
Mm-hmm.
But all this took place after the ascension for Paul, after Jesus' ascension.
Okay.
So Paul is.
So that's even bigger testimony.
No, Paul is basically saying, I saw the resurrected Jesus after Jesus ascended into heaven. Up, by the way.
No, that's just you're misinterpreting it. That's
okay. What do you think happened?
No, Jesus died. He went into Hades. He preached the gospel to the dead. After 3 days, he rose again, and then eventually he went and he visited everyone to show that he had conquered death.
And how many days was he on earth after he rose from the dead?
I don't know the exact number.
40.
Yeah, 40 days.
Okay. Are you saying that Paul saw the resurrected Jesus in those 40 days?
Yes, after he was resurrected.
Does the text actually say that?
Yeah, that's just you're misinterpreting it. Again, it's not.
I would love to see where it actually says that.
Says what? That Paul.
That Jesus appeared to Paul within those 40 days.
Okay. And if he didn't, well, then what? I mean, he could have still appeared after. Like Jesus is going to appear.
Right. But the point is that if Jesus did appear to Paul after that 40 days, then you would have to believe that he went into heaven to sit on the side of the Father, then come back to appear to Paul.
Oh, he can do that.
Yeah, he can do that, but I'm just making the point that then Jesus' second coming is actually the third coming, because he's already been back to earth to see Paul. Okay, and maybe others.
It depends. No, it depends how the hypostasis.
Okay, besides Paul, who saw
there's
Jesus?
Lots of different.
Who claimed to have seen Jesus besides Paul?
The 500 people you just talked about, and the 12. I mean, why is this?
No. Did they actually write anything down and say they saw Jesus?
Some of them did. Some of them had oral. Or you just said, who are the 500 people you were referring to?
Joe, Hannah. Did we have anything like that for Jesus? Who saw Jesus rise from the dead besides Paul? Who makes the claim even?
The hundreds of people that went and died for him after?
True or false? The hundreds of people made the claim that they saw Jesus. True or false?
Yes, hundreds of
Where
people
in Scripture, show me in the New Testament where those 500 actually wrote that they saw Jesus.
So they have to directly write it for it to be valid.
How do you know 500 people saw the risen Jesus? Because Paul says so, not them.
Yeah, okay.
I'm asking you.
He's a reporter.
Right.
Like that's like saying, the news story said 500 people. Oh, well, the news story doesn't have everyone's testimony. It's like, it's kind of
right. He's reporting, but he's reporting what other people claim to have seen. But I'm asking
And then
you
they
this
went,
question.
yeah.
Who claims for themselves that they saw Jesus rise from the dead? Besides Paul, who?
I mean, he visited a lot of the other apostles. He visited lots of other people. I mean, why, like, what is this trying to prove?
I'm trying to
don't.
prove that we have no eyewitness accounts for Jesus' resurrection, meaning that
You just said we have eyewitnesses accounts.
No.
That Paul
Kyle,
reported them.
Please stay with me. When I'm talking about eyewitness accounts, I mean someone who is the eyewitness and makes the account. Someone who says, like Paul says, Jesus appeared to me. I'm asking for something like that, where someone says in the first person, I saw the resurrected Jesus. That's what I'm asking for. Very simple. What you most people typically think of an eyewitness account is saying, I saw this. And I propose to you, there's no example in the New Testament of that except for Paul.
Mary Magdalene.
Did Mary Magdalene write any of the New Testament?
We don't go by Bible alone. And why again, your criteria is, if the Bible, there's lots of oral tradition, there's lots of other traditions. Jesus visited.
Did Mary Magdalene write anything anywhere that we have currently?
I'm not sure offhand, but we have the
Well, you just said Mary Magdalene has written or said that I saw Jesus. Where? Show me the evidence.
You want me to pull up like the exact
where she writes with her own hand?
Why does she have to? I mean,
because that's an eyewitness account.
Do you realize that most people were illiterate at this time? They couldn't read and write, so they needed someone who could qualify. Like,
okay,
it's just
fine. Through a scribe, I'll give you a scribe. Just give me something where it starts with, I, Mary Magdalene, saw the risen Jesus. Or Jesus.
Do you really? So if I showed that to you, you would be like, "Oh my gosh, it's true."
No. I'm just getting. This is that still wouldn't convince me. But I'm just asking from your point of view. I'm just pointing out a very simple fact. You don't have any of that.
Yes, I do. You just brought it up. And so, what
is it? Show me.
What I brought up Paul. I brought up Mary Magdalene. Okay, so what would it take for
you? Didn't show me Mary Magdalene.
You said it. You said it yourself. All right. You want me to send you a link to Mary Magdalene saying, I am Mary Magdalene. And
yes,
I tested.
Yes, I want to see that.
And then what are you going to say? You're just going to say, oh, no,
I'm going to say I was wrong, that there is an eyewitness account other than Paul. Revelation chapter 1 is another example that you could go to, but that's clearly a vision.
I can send you a link to the article about talking about Mary Magdalene, how she was the first witness of the resurrection.
Yeah, but this is other people saying this is what Mary said. I'm asking for something where Mary introduces a letter or something saying to so-and-so, I, Mary.
And there's other people. I mean, I can provide this after. I feel like we're not going anywhere with this point.
Okay, you can email me later.
But yeah, I'll send you the email later. But there's plenty of people that testimony for it.
My strong suspicion is that you will not find anything other than third-party hearsay.
Okay, so all third-party sources are absolutely.
No, didn't say that. I'm just making a very, very simple point that what you think you have, you don't actually have. I.e., eyewitness accounts.
I'm looking at it right now.
Share your screen. I'll allow it. Go on the bottom. See the share button.
Sec. Again, we have it in Luke too, so it's not like it's just.
Actually, hang on. We have what in Luke?
We have a testimony to Mary Magdalene being the first person that saw Jesus. She was the first. She was the first of the disciples.
Does the Gospel of Luke claim that Mary wrote that?
Okay. It's a third, like it's a second party source. It's someone who knew. What does this have to do?
I'm just pointing out the obvious, that you don't have any.
What's obvious?
First-hand eyewitness accounts.
We have Paul, who is
except for Paul. I'm giving you Paul, but then I just made the point that it was after Jesus ascended into heaven. So it's hinting it's a vision.
So why we have first person counts? We have second and third person. Why is that? See, you have an unrealistic.
It's unrealistic to ask for first. You asked it with my neighbor who walked on water.
Does your neighbor walk on water every single multiple people? The people go
Did
and
Jesus
die.
rise from the dead more than
Yeah.
once?
No.
Why don't you? So you're saying that it has to be multiple times in order to be believed?
What? No. Okay, he did. It's not like he just did that miracle. He did literally a bunch of miracles. It's not like he just did one. He did all of these, and all of these miracles are given their context when you understand the Old Testament, the prophecies we're talking about. Again, I don't think we're going anywhere. Do you want to move on?
You can share your screen if you have it right in front of you.
I've got some personal stuff on. Let's see.
Yeah, don't dox yourself or anything.
Yeah, I can email it later. I can get out. But you can just go, like, you Google it. Mary Magdalene first witness. There are multiple. You can look it up for yourself. It's not like it's
Mary Magdalene first witness.
Yeah, just look up first witness. There is. Yeah, you'll probably just find it. It's the first.
Because I was a Christian for 30 years, and granted, I wasn't a Catholic or Orthodox, but I don't remember any historian actually saying that we have an authentic writing from Mary. And if they did, it would be like in the 3rd or 4th century of people claiming this, like hundreds of years after.
So why did you leave Christianity? What was the straw that broke camel's back?
I basically started putting myself in the third person point of view and asking, why don't people believe this? And instead of making excuses like, oh, it's deception from the devil, or they have this bias and ignorant, that truly hear people out. And I started to realize that the reasons that I thought I had to believe Christianity is true were reasons I would never accept in other religions or in other beliefs that I deem false. So, for example, this whole business of eyewitness testimony, if I gave you something similar, piece by piece, layer it in for something that I think you and I would agree is false or most likely to be false, we wouldn't believe it.
Well, if you can show me an example of that, because this is, I mean, all the miracles, it's not just, oh, the miracles, they have a context. I mean, these were predicted hundreds of years ago, to predict all these things hundreds of years ago, and then for them to happen multiple times.
Okay, but there's simple explanations for that, right? And I know you would say you don't believe those explanations, but for example, that Jesus would be born of a Nazarene, or that he would be born in the town of Bethlehem, or that he'd be born a virgin. What's a naturalistic explanation of that?
What do you think? You think it was just random?
I'm asking you. I know the answer. Trust me, I got that right here. But have you even thought about this?
I have. I used to be an atheist.
What's the natural explanation of Jesus
being
born of a virgin?
It's just random chance.
Okay. I've never heard that one.
Yeah, that's what they're like.
It's just random chance someone's born of a virgin? I've never heard that one.
No, they're just random chance. Oh, it just happens to fulfill. Like they just
happens?
I don't know. Yeah, that's what they say. They don't.
What about being born in Bethlehem?
Yeah, they could say, "Oh, well, our geology says this. It all makes sense. It's probable." Yeah, they have totally different fairy tales.
What about John the Baptist being the precursor to Jesus' ministry?
Yeah, or they just say it was all a lie. Constantine made the Bible. Actually, Jesus didn't exist. Caesar was Caesar. They'll literally embrace.
Okay, you know what I say?
What do you
tell me if you think this is reasonable? So just for like 30 seconds, pretend that you don't need Christianity to explain everything and that you don't care about it. Just be like a robot for 30 seconds. The New Testament authors were very familiar with the Old Testament. They had this charismatic leader and he died. And so they used this template of the Old Testament, reinterpreted Old Testament verses to create a narrative in the New Testament. Done.
So that's called the conspiracy theory. Do you have any evidence that is actually what happened? I mean, his followers were literally illiterate fishermen. You think illiterate fishermen made the most deceiving lie of all time? No,
it could be true that they were illiterate fishermen, which means that they probably didn't write it in the first place.
Okay, but there were people. They wrote it, but
how can they write it if they're illiterate fishermen?
Some of them were literate, some weren't. But I'm just saying people can learn to write. But I'm saying when they started, this isn't some gotcha moment. I mean, I'm just saying that it's
in history. In history.
So why would they reject their people? They literally they got rejected by their own people, the Jews. Why would
Yes.
they willingly do all this unless they actually did see Jesus? Why would you? It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's multiple reasons that it could be. Can you think of any?
What do you think? See, but you're speculating on conspiracy theories. You like the goofy conspiracy theories that actually they just made it, but it's like, okay, that's not. I mean, you can read The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. It's just
So we have a sect of Jews. There was actually three main sects of Judaism back then. There's the Pharisees, Sadducees, the Essenes. There was probably more. They all had different little takes of what of their eschatology, their theologies. They weren't a monolith. Jews had different ideas. They were being oppressed by the Romans and other people for centuries. They're wondering, what have we done to deserve this from Yahweh? And they have this guy named Jesus who is teaching. Who's teaching?
You know what they
a
expected?
New fulfilled.
Yes. Do you know what the Jews, the Pharisees expected in their Messiah? They expected a military king.
Right, a
Someone who
conqueror.
was a conqueror. Jesus wasn't that. Like, if
Right.
you're gonna,
But why were they expecting a conqueror?
So because
Because
that's
the
what
Old
they wanted.
Testament
Because they were
said
oppressed.
so. That's why.
That's no. That's that's your interpretation. Because if the Jesus is a fulfillment of that, they were all expecting because they were misinterpreting.
If you want to interpret
like
the Old Testament, ask a Pharisee. Don't ask you. Don't ask me.
Why would
and they
I
were
ask
expecting
I would
they
ask
were expecting a
Pharisee
conqueror.
who rejected Jesus. Why would I reject someone who rejects Jesus? That's all
Because
Jesus
Jesus
did was
might be false. His teachings might
Why?
be false.
No, it's a fulfillment of the law. You can read the Trinity, and the Son are all throughout the Old Testament. You can read Exodus, things that make no sense unless Jesus was who he said he was. Who was Moses talking to when he's talking to the burning bush? It has a spirit all over the Old Testament. Jesus is a fulfillment of the law. That's all he did was debate the Pharisees.
Let's make this a little more simple. In history, do we have examples of men using religions as a template and creating new religions?
Yeah, Islam.
Islam, yes. And
they have
Mormonism.
no continuity. I have a video coming out on Friday. The Quran was written 500 years after the events. Let's
not get sidetracked with Quran is a good example. Mormonism is a good example, right? So you and I are both agreed. We have examples in history of religions, new religions being created from motifs, themes from prior religions.
Mm-hmm. And how do you determine the real religions from the false religions?
That's another question.
That's a continuity.
It's another question, but now I'm just going to ask you a very simple question. What is more likely, that Christianity created a new religion from an older religion, or that a man actually rose from the dead and walked on water and did these miracles?
Well, he didn't just create a new religion as a film. Judaism, in modern day Judaism, the Talmud is not the continuation of the Judaism of Jesus' time. It is totally different. It is totally unlike, they're so obsessed with the law. Only Christianity is a continuity because it's not like we just
What did you just say?
Everything.
It's completely different?
What? No. Modern Judaism is completely different than the Judaism of Jesus' time. It's totally different.
Okay. But do you think that Christianity is totally different than Judaism?
No. It is literally the same. It is the fulfillment, the clarification of the law. I mean, I have this. This is a great read, the Orthodox Study Bible, because you read all this stuff, and the Jesus and the law and the New Covenant are all written over the Old Testament. I mean, in Orthodox Christianity, we have a liturgy. We have all these things. That we have a priesthood. We have the laying on the hands. We are the continuation of Judaism. Judaism is the new religion.
I understand it's a continuation.
Christianity is not a new religion.
Okay, if it's not a new religion and it's a continuation of the laws and so forth of Judaism, what did they do to lepers in the Old Testament?
That was the Old Testament Israelite law. When the New Covenant came, he clarified the law because the Pharisees were so obsessed with the law that they had lost the meaning of the law. They rejected the lawgiver when he came.
So the answer you could have given is they put them outside the city gates.
Yes.
Right? What did Jesus say about lepers? You don't do that.
Yeah. So again, it's a fulfillment of the law a
So you
clarification.
view
Why?
that.
Okay, why did they have those laws? It's because God needed to create the preconditions that the Israelite people would not die. It was a brutal ancient world, and so yes, he had these laws, the Leviticus laws, that seem very strict. But Jesus comes and he clarifies those, and he is a fulfillment
Right.
of those. And so yes,
I view that clarification as something new. That's what they call it,
it's
the
not.
New Testament.
No, because it
It's
is the
new.
fulfillment of the. Okay, it's new. That's a word concept fallacy. New isn't the
Just
same
like Mormonism
as,
was new, just like
no,
Islam was new,
no, because
but
they don't
it
have any.
shared some
They don't have
past
any,
themes.
no, they don't have any continuity. Do you know the history of Islam? All the events in the Old Testament happen, and then the Quran comes 500 years later. Islam's don't have a liturgy. They don't. Their Quran has the Trinity in it.
How much later did Christianity come after Judaism? 500 years later.
What do you mean it continued to happen? There's a continuity. This is Judaism. They're
Right, but you
predicting the
can't say
Messiah,
Islam is more likely to be false because it's 500 years later, no more than Christianity, because you can say the same thing about Christianity.
That's not true. That's not true, because the Quran is their main document, and that was written 500 years later after the events. I'm not saying, oh, it's newer, therefore it's false. I'm saying there's not a continuity.
It wasn't written 500 years after the events. Maybe,
yes, it was.
Maybe a couple
yes, it was.
Maybe 1 or 200 at most.
False. No, Muhammad was born in 570, and the Quran wasn't written until like the 600s. It's like, and if you read the Quran, it says
that's 30 years.
What?
What did you say?
The events of the Gospels happened in 30 AD.
Oh, you're comparing to the Gospels. I see what you're saying. Okay.
No, so this is what the Muslims claim. The Muslims claim Allah purposely deceived everyone and made it look like Jesus died. That's why everyone worships Jesus. But then Muhammad, after purposely deceiving everyone, he waited 500 years to give the Quran to his messenger, Muhammad, which is totally wrong. And they're saying, 500 years later, what happened 500 years ago?
Hey, Kyle, I agree with you. Islam's false. This is not an issue. I'm just pointing out that there are.
Okay, but the
diversity. That it's very reasonable to say, just like Mormonism was created as an offshoot of New Testament, Old Testament, just like Islam was created as an offshoot of the New Testament, Old Testament, Christianity is an offshoot of the Old Testament.
Absolutely not. It's a continuity.
Well, you even admitted this because of the prophecies. There's
no prophecies of Joseph Smith or Muhammad. There's no prophecies of them.
Actually, Muslims would disagree with you.
Where in the Quran?
I forget what they say, but they actually say the Old Testament prophesies Muhammad. I disagree. Yeah. I am with you. I disagree with them, but they would say that. But the point is, I'm just making a what's more likely argument here, that we have examples in history of people doing this all the time. And I know if you even for a second consider that Christianity is no different, you're done. And I understand why you would push back hard against that. But to me, it just seems very reasonable.
That's reasonable. That's your arbitrary standard.
But again, we share this. You and I are the same. We both look at Mormonism and we say, it's obvious what Joseph Smith and his followers did. You and I are the same.
Are there any prophecies is there any prophet? Like you're saying there's different opinions, therefore no one is true. There can never be any religion. Every religion is false because
I'm not saying that.
Well, you are an atheist. You believe every religion is false.
Yes, I believe but I'm not saying because of this reason it has to be.
That's what, but you're saying that, look at these powerful men. What's more likely? Which is totally arbitrary.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what would change my mind, and we got to wrap this up, I think. How long have we been going? Oh, wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Now you're going to think this is silly, but for me, what doesn't convince me is these old texts and even old traditions. What would convince me is something today. Okay. And a lot of Christians actually appreciate this because they say they've had these personal testimonies and experiences of today that they can fall back on, and that it's really powerful to them. And I'm asking for something similar, except my standards are very high. I don't lower my standards for Jesus. And one of my standards is or one of the pieces of evidence that would shatter my worldview. And I'm not joking. I actually believe this would shatter my worldview.
Okay.
And it's based off of Old Testament scripture.
Yeah.
In 1 Kings 18, it says that Elijah watered down wood and was taunting the worshipers of Baal and other religions, taunting their God, saying, hey, light up your stacks of wood, your altars, and I will call my God to do the same. In fact, I'm even going to douse my wood with fire with the water first, and then call upon God. And Elijah did it. And fire came down, and the wood started lighting on fire, even though it was water soaked. And then afterwards, God even killed these people, or they died, and it's quite the story. 1 Kings 18. Anyhow, I just asking for what Elijah did. So I'm asking you, Kyle, to be like Elijah, and on my behalf, call upon God to light this up right now.
No, that's funny, because this is a total gotcha non-argument. Jesus talks just about this. If you won't believe the prophets and Moses, then it doesn't matter if a man rose from the dead. It's not a logical problem. Even if God did that, you would reinterpret it in your paradigm. Oh, there's some logical explanation.
You know what? You could be right. You could be right.
You really think if there was just light on fire, you'd be like, oh yeah, I got to become an Orthodox Christian? No, you would continue, because it's not a logical problem. It's a problem in our heart.
You could be right, but we could always try it and see if you're right. And if you're right, you have my permission to say I told you so.
No, but we don't look to signs and wonders for our Christianity. I mean,
you don't?
demons can do signs. No, we don't.
We don't look to the resurrection?
No, because it needs to be in continuity. Again, signs and wonders. Oh, because like the Catholics are so obsessed with Fatima and all this.
Why did Jesus do the miracles he did?
Because they were the fulfillment of the prophecy. They have their meaning because of the Old Testament. A brute fact of a miracle does not prove anything.
Do you believe some people followed Jesus and believed in Jesus because of the miracles he did?
Yeah, but again,
that's all I'm asking.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm saying, but would you really? If that really did, you think I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess I gotta reject my.
I'm being dead serious. I'm not joking. This is not, and I think a lot of people understand this. And I can even make it more dramatic. My sister died 2 years ago. Okay, I know she's dead, and she died a horrible death of MS. She's in the ground and she's rotting as we speak. If you and I were to go to her cemetery, you pray in the name of Jesus, just like what Jesus did to Lazarus, and she came bubbling up through the dirt after you made that prayer, my whole worldview would be rocked. I would start trying to figure out which version of Christianity is true. Should I become Orthodox or Catholic that day? I'm serious. I'd probably have to change my whole YouTube channel. I am not lying to you. And I think every human being listening right now who might push back and say, well, yeah, Doug, but that could be a demon or whatever. I don't care. Naturalism is false at that point, in my view. I'm done. Do you blame me for being done with that? No, that is good evidence, especially if it's just not me and you alone. We got a bunch of people. In fact, if my sister was to walk around town, I was at your funeral, and here you are.
So do you realize that, like, Jesus, like the apostles all saw Jesus could do these miracles, and yet Peter still denied Christ 3 times. It's not like he literally saw it. He believed in Christianity, but he still rejected Christ. It's not like, even if that did happen, it's not.
Well, you know what? And that might happen to me too. But at least I'm not doubting that naturalism is false, right? Did Peter not doubt that? No. So I still have the free will to reject Christ. But I guarantee you, my current worldview would be smashed, splattered on the wall. It's gone.
Mm-hmm. Maybe for a time being, but you may return. I mean, like I said, Peter saw Jesus. He saw the miracles, and he still denied Jesus.
Okay, so what is a better way for me to become a Christian other than something like that?
To be philosophically consistent, to be able to not just be arbitrary about, oh, survival is good.
You think philosophy will get me to become a Christian?
Yeah, you said you didn't. You said you aren't philosophically trained. I think if you are philosophically trained, have Jay Dyer on. He can explain this like 10 times better than me. I think you guys would have a very interesting conversation. I think you are a way nicer.
No, but at best you might get to some form of deism. I don't see how the tag arguments or anything can get you to Jesus rising from the dead and dying for your sins and promising you the kingdom of heaven. Like, how do you go there?
Because it's revealed to us.
But Muslims use tag arguments, right?
No, they don't. They use natural theology. That's why Catholics and Muslims are saying, "Oh, we all worship the same God."
I've talked to Muslims who have talked like you.
Presuppositional apologetics.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually
use the transcendental argument for God.
Yeah, I've had a Muslim ask me, how do you account for logic? They sound
Yeah.
eerily like you.
Okay. So again, people can argue.
So
for
what they
something false.
would say to me is, Doug, if you only became philosophically trained, you'd become a Muslim.
Okay. That just because people have different opinions, and people say if you become scientifically illiterate, you believe all these certain things. It doesn't have anything to do with the true or falsity of Christianity. I'm saying if you hear out the Orthodox Christian apologists, you will realize that you are inconsistent, that the way that they present the transcendental argument is undeniable. That's what I'm saying. If you like I said, if you want someone who is going to defend it amazingly, get Jay Dyer on.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Why is that relevant?
Just humor me. Do you have a girlfriend?
Not right now.
Oh. How old are you?
Why?
Just roughly. Are you early 20s?
How old do you think I am?
Early 20s, yeah.
I'm 22.
22. Did you have a girlfriend 3 years ago?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
I have this theory. Well, 2 years ago when you're 20?
No.
No? Okay. I have this theory called the PineCreek theorem. Because I heard you on Rebecca's channel and you said that you were an atheist up to age 19.
Yeah.
And I had a theory that you either had a close friend or maybe a girlfriend that was a Christian, and that's what...
Nope.
No? Okay.
No, I came to it because I saw there's objectively evil stuff going on in the world, and seeing that Christ and Christians stand up for the truth, they're wholesome. I mean, and then finally learning about the philosophical arguments and all the flaws in atheism. But it's like, even if atheism is true, if you're right, nothing matters. If I'm right, everything matters. And even if I'm wrong, then great. I lived a good life, because Christianity is the key to a good life. Like, I can't lose. I came to Christ because of logic, because it was purely logical. I didn't have any.
So you've had no amazing experiences of God?
No, not really. It's completely, I don't base my faith on that. I just know, and I have faith in Jesus, and I've seen him change my life, following his teachings.
So if Christianity were false, it wouldn't make a difference in your life?
I mean, there's no way for it to be false, but I mean, I guess not. It wouldn't make a difference.
Like, if let's say a different version of God other than Christianity that can account for all the transcendentals, like there'd be nothing keeping you in Christianity at that point. You could just say, yeah, that's fine. That accounts.
Yeah. If I was given a better argument, if someone critiques me and is able to give me a convincing, I would be an atheist. I would be a Muslim. You just need to convince me. And what I have found...
No, I mean, talking about deism now. Like, if deism could, like we talked about this earlier, if deism could account for what you think needs to be accounted for today, and if you have nothing holding you to Christianity, like, if it's totally non-emotional, if it's all about the facts and data, then you would switch tomorrow and say, oh yeah, you know what? It is more likely that men wrote stuff up in the New Testament and it didn't happen, but I still got this God that explains X, Y, and Z, logic, uniformity of nature, the 3-in-1 problem. You would be okay. You'd be like, okay, I don't need Christianity.
Yeah, if I was given a good argument for deism, but deism doesn't work because it's just, how do you have access to an unknowable God? It makes no sense. But like I said,
through natural theology.
Natural theology is false. It doesn't work. It's based on classical foundationalism. It's completely wrong. It is not what...
Maybe classical foundationalism is true.
No, it isn't. No, it
yeah,
isn't.
It is.
Do you know what classical foundationalism is?
I'm just doing the, like the no apologetic here. Like, just saying no, it isn't. Yes, it is. It doesn't get us anywhere, right?
Well, I have an epistemology textbook right here. I can read it up and read the definition of classical foundationalism and show why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You want to? I think.
Is there any books where people show it does? Yes.
Not that I'm aware of. People have different opinions, but the textbook I have is a commonly.
That's just an opinion of a textbook.
Okay, there's lots of opinions out there. We can discern the truth.
I'm just pointing out to a book doesn't, That's why I say I need something today. We have people throughout history arguing about this stuff for centuries, millennia. What has it accomplished?
Good. Christ civilized the world. The world was paganism and barbarianism. The church is the reason we got rid of incest. We got rid of all these things. Christian teachings made the West, made the entire East, made the entire world moral. So we have...
Did you say get rid of incest?
Huh?
What'd you say? Get rid of incest?
Yes, the church was the one who mandated against incest.
That's weird, since all
Adam,
humanity came from incest.
it was one example again in God's
Yeah.
goodness. You can understand, like, it's not really this gotcha, oh look at this. It's a holistic message. Like, you can't just be, oh look at this little thing. You need to understand holistic ideas. The biggest ideas is the big picture.
Would you give up
And-
Christianity for me?
What?
Would you give up Christianity for me? So if you and I were in a car together and we died in a car crash, and we stand before Jesus, the final judgment, and Jesus says to you, Doug's going to hell. You're going to heaven, Kyle. But I like Doug. And since I'm sovereign and I can do what I want and still be just, Kyle, if you give up heaven and I annihilate you, I won't send Doug to hell. I'll annihilate Doug.
No, that's a false idea of heaven. Heaven is primarily, if you love God, if you love church, if you love the good, then God's love is going to feel amazing in heaven. But if you've rejected God and decided to follow your own will, your own idea of God, well, that same love, it's literally the same
that
love.
has nothing to do with my question. My question is,
No, it does. Because that's a false dilemma. That's not how it's like. It's not, God's not going to say, look at this.
Kyle, this is a hypothetical question.
It's not.
It's a hypothetical question. If God said to you, Doug will not go to hell if you give up heaven. It's not a switch. You don't go to hell and I go to heaven. It's not a switch. It's just that if you tell God, I'm willing to give up eternity with you, I will annihilate both of you and neither of you will experience heaven nor hell. Would you take that deal for me?
It's impossible for a soul to not exist. It's a false question. That's not Christian theology. Our souls, we always exist. I don't think
Did your soul exist 1,000 years ago?
Well, I was created.
Did your soul exist 1,000 years ago? Yes or no?
No, I was created. I'm a created being.
So there was a moment in time when you did not exist, yes?
Yes, when I did not exist.
So couldn't there be a moment in time in the future where you do not exist?
No, because once a soul is created, it's always there.
You can never go backwards. Not even God can do that.
I don't know. I mean, God can do whatever he wants.
If you don't know, then don't be adamant and say souls have to keep existing. If you don't know, you say, yeah,
that's
God
what.
could
Okay,
annihilate.
that's what we have been. The church has always taught that souls always exist.
Church could be wrong.
Question. No, it can't. It's
the church could not be wrong.
No, not on key issues. Obviously, it can err on little things, but ultimately, it will always preserve.
Name one key issue that the church cannot be wrong about.
The Christ resurrection, the Trinity. The Nicene Creed.
So it's impossible logically for Christ not to have risen?
Yeah, Christ had to. Yes, because the Holy Spirit guides.
There's no chance.
There's
that Jesus did not rise. Not even.
No, unless you're not a Christian. But if you're a Christian, then you follow Jesus' church.
Wait, no. It doesn't matter who you are. It's either possible or not possible that Jesus rose from the dead.
It doesn't. It's a false question. Okay, talking about impossibility, it's just it's not really going anywhere.
See, I don't think you value truth anymore. I actually
I do. How do I not value truth? The truth is what led me to.
Because if you're saying it's impossible for Jesus not to have risen, you're saying that there's no chance you're wrong about that, which tells me that you don't value truth, because a truth seeker will say that they could be wrong.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong about lots of things. I'm just saying
you could be wrong about Jesus' resurrection.
Yes, I'm 90%. I'm 99% certain.
So then it is possible that the church is wrong about Jesus rise from the dead, right? Because they're just like you.
If Christianity is false.
Well, yeah, if Christianity is false, then he definitely didn't rise from the dead. But I'm saying it's possible that Jesus didn't rise from the dead.
Isn't anything possible?
So the church could be wrong about that.
Well, not if you're a Christian.
Now we're subjective truth?
It's not a subjective truth just because people disagree.
You're saying someone says, not if you're a Christian. That's subjective truth.
If someone is a Christian, if they're a truth seeker, for example, they believe in something like a woman. But then people who are postmodernists say there's no such thing as a woman. The fact that the postmodernist doesn't believe in a woman does not actually deal if the women actually exist or not. And you're saying, oh, but is it possible that a woman doesn't exist? I mean, anything's possible, but I'm saying that a woman does exist, that truth does exist, and Christianity is true. It's just, it's not, it's really, it's pointless.
Okay, we've been going on far too long. I do appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate your being nice. You know, a lot of atheists are kind of, I don't know, they're kind of rude, and you seem more knowledgeable, like you're actually seeking the truth. So again, can't
And
recommend.
I probably have said enough that you know that I actually do know something about philosophy, right? I gave a few hints.
I don't know. You should read. You should be a consistent skeptic if you are gonna, you know, read some David Hume. Get the epistemology textbook. It's just Epistemology by Bonjour, and yeah, definitely have Jay Dyer on. That's all I can say.
If he sings for me, I might.
Oh,
okay, take care, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we'll do this again sometime. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, just email me if you want to do anything.
Okay.
Bye.
Were you not entertained? Why can't Christians entertain hypotheticals? It's amazing. Yeah. Many times in that live stream, he said, he pushed back against, this is just a hypothetical. He let you talk and expose yourself. Kyle, you haven't presented a witness. I'm sure you won't send one to Doug either. Well, he'll probably send me something that the church has sent him that is reportedly from Mary, but I bet you anything, Mary didn't sign it. Doug, you're actually goated. What does that mean? He got visibly tired. Yeah, I tired him out. Well, and he was on Rebecca's live stream earlier, so he was understandably tired. Enough dopamine for a week. Dan Edwards, his no woman comment was him begging to ask him about his sex life. Yeah, he brought up that twice or 3 times. I didn't take the bait because I didn't want to get into that and have the whole thing diverted to transgenderism or something. GOAT, greatest of all time. Oh, yeah. Well, I knew it. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm too humble to understand that. Doug's low IQ friend. Hey, I like that. PineCreek, you ignore the misses of the PineCreek and count the hits. Could be true. I see 11:11 all the time on the clock. Does Kyle know that Answers in Genesis is a Protestant church? I'm sure he knows that. I think that for him, for Kyle, and if you're listening, I would never, ever try to get you to become an atheist. But I would try to, and I did today, I tried for you to consider deism. But in your head, I understand, in your head, it's like, if a God, creator God exists, he has to want to convey himself to people. He can't just let the ball roll. But that's an assumption you have. This God could exist and just not care about you. Or maybe does care about you, but for morally sufficient reasons has decided to keep himself hidden to a certain time, and that time hasn't happened yet. These are all hypothetical questions that get people to think, and it kind of destroys this, well, my worldview is the only one that makes sense. Has to be. Something happened to him, though, at age 19 or 20. I don't know what. I could tell in his eyes. It wasn't a girl, I guess, but there was something that happened. Maybe some guilt. I would love to have PineCreek have Jay Dyer on. Ken Ham is worth 54 million. Are you sure? If he was worth 54 million, wouldn't he retire by now? Well, I'm doing the Lord's work. Jay Dyer is an insufferable lunatic, but it could be interesting to see Doug's take him apart. Well, I would probably I would have a strategy with Jay Dyer. He admitted to himself that he's gay. Oh. He did not admit that. Was I too patient, Nathan? Lies are lucrative. True. So honesty can be lucrative too. It's refreshing when you at least perceive the honesty coming from a person. It's very refreshing. Dyer would have to be treated like how Doug treated DD, Darth Dawkins. Yeah, maybe. That'd be a good strategy. Or how I treated Godless Girl yesterday. Was it yesterday? I would pay good money to see a Doug versus Jay. What am I, a gigolo, Dean Kruger? I'm not a gigolo. You can't throw money at me and say, dance, monkey, dance. I had as much nutty beliefs as him when I was his age, but Doug would have talked me out of them. You sure? By the way, I don't know why this pops in my head, but that whole flood story was instantaneous. The scriptures make it sound like it took a while. Now, I know you can probably interpret it a certain way, but like, wasn't the floodwaters over 40 days? No, 100. How many days was it? I say 40 because 40 is a popular number in the Bible. How many days did it say the waters were upon the earth? Thanks for the donation, Grimlock. How many days was it? "40 days and 40 nights." Yeah, I was right. $40 or $150. But you know what's interesting about that? His answer. His answer showed me that he actually agrees with me or shares my same moral intuitions that drowning infants, if it's not instantaneous, then that's bad. And he refused to answer the give up heaven for me question. I'm just asking him to be like Jesus. Sacrifice yourself. Didn't Jesus sacrifice himself for the whole world? Why can't Kyle sacrifice himself for me? It's not like you're going to regret it or miss it. You'll be dead. And to say souls have to keep on living is to say God's not powerful enough to quench a soul? Where's that in Scripture? That God can't do that. "40 days is the J source, 150 is the P source." And that with the young earth creationist stuff, my question about how is it so many theists of so many different cultures and biases all converge to the same answer in the field of science and different fields of science. His answer was a grand conspiracy, basically. Propaganda. So if it can happen in science to that degree, why can't it happen with the New Testament? Like, he kind of chastised me that this has to be some type of grand conspiracy if I'm right about the New Testament. But yet he very quickly adopts a grand conspiracy on a much larger scale, on a global scale. I'm just saying it's a very regional scale, very small scale. To me, like, and those conspiracies exist all the time. A bunch of people who will get together and... Now, I'm not saying this is exactly how the New Testament came to be, but it's reasonable, way more reasonable than a man rising from the dead and walking on water. And I also found interesting when I asked him about his life changing if he left Christianity. And it's like, if it's all about philosophy, all about logic and evidence, and it's not anything to do with the emotional stuff like hope, meaning, and purpose, then he should be able to walk away from Christianity tomorrow and it wouldn't make a dent. All he needs is an explanation, it sounds like, for existence and for uniformity of nature and logic, morality. All he needs is that. Once he has that, then Christianity is, if he already has it in something else, then Christianity is no different. I mean, it's not needed. You could just walk away and it won't make a dent. But for some reason, I think that's not true for him. He probably was a Christian kid before he became an atheist and then converted. Very, very common. Yeah, I should have asked him about his parents. "99% of scientists believe in the old earth, and the other 1% believe in a 2,000-year-old Bronze Age book." I don't know if it's 99.1, but it might be 98.2. Trigger words: context, holistic, impossible, not to be true, conspiracy, false dichotomy, no evidence. Dave, don't just post scriptures. I'm not going to follow you like a little monkey. I'm a human with free will, created in the image of God. Don't view me as an animal. At least you got to give me some fruit, some grapes, if you want me to follow you around like a monkey. Kyle needs to learn about G-forces and then think about his flood speeds. Yeah, well, he's basically saying it was a miracle from God. Instantaneous water, instantaneous gone. Well, maybe not instantaneous gone, but... And, I mean, you got to create this water ex nihilo. Where'd it come from? Where'd it go? There's only so and so many H2O molecules on the planet Earth, unless you synthesize them. Poor Rebecca. Poor Rebecca from Bread of Life did not want this to happen, and it happened. At least she didn't want to ask. I asked Rebecca to ask Kyle to join my live stream, and she said in the comments, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to send him to my channel." And then he ends up here. Gives me so much joy. PineCreek, who has made the most money from your poker nights? Well, I don't know for sure, but I'm quite sure it's me. Another scripture says that God can destroy the soul. Oh, that's what you mean. Yes, yes. So Kyle, if you ever hear this, your fellow Christian, Dave Robinson is a Christian, right? Yes, you're a Christian, right, Dave? He's pointing out that the soul can be destroyed. Why didn't I think of that, Dave? I know that verse, but that just shows I'm human. I can't think of every verse very quickly all the time. He said both his parents got degrees in biology and not religious, yet he says his parents believe we came from monkeys, not what evolution says. Well, let's be fair, he's probably interpreting his parents. They probably wouldn't say that either. Yeah, he basically did admit the poof option, but disguised as drown. That's actually pretty smart, though. That's a clever way to get around the hypothetical thought experiment. A couple other people have tried that too, but then you just got to believe that people can't swim. Or they have to believe in some type of tidal wave that knocks them unconscious and then they drown. But it sure doesn't. It seems like the flood story is rain and bubbling of water from the ground, not like a tidal wave coming in from X going to Y. But with the evolutionary thing, when I talked to him about going to the zoo and observing monkeys and animals, different animals, how they can care for their young, how they can share, how they can destroy and kill, just like us humans, isn't it? And yet those animals don't use words like objective morality, do they? They can't talk. Well, some of them can talk. Some of them can do hand signals. But that's just all instinct, Doug, says the Christian. Well, maybe we're just instinct. Oh, but then I'm not special. I want to feel special. Doug, this will make him or break him. Although your ruthless antics are hard to watch, I know it can turn for his good, may cause him to dig deeper in how authentic his faith is. Why was this hard to watch, Empty Tomb? And why were my antics ruthless? Was I rude? No. I agreed with him many times. I steel manned him a few times. In other words, I repeated back what he said to me. I tried to understand him. Why do you say I'm ruthless? I understand why you think I'm ruthless. Because I ask very simple questions. And I don't allow divergent topics, although we covered many topics. And I take my fist and I grind. So in that way, yeah, I am ruthless. It's refreshing to hear the words "I don't know" from him at the end. All of his answers would have benefited from the phrase, but at least he knew the sentence. He should use it more. You were very civil. You were playing with your food, clearly outmatched. That's probably why he wants me to talk to Jay now. I think you cracked his conception of how atheists behave. Yeah, well, that's good. He is a young man that is ignorant on many things. It's exploitive. You know this. Oh, come on. How old did he say he was? 22, 23? Early 20s? Yes, that's a young man. But to say I'm exploiting him, how is asking the type of questions I'm asking, giving the thought experience I'm asking, exploitive? It's only exploitive from your point of view because I think, Kenny, that you know that these types of questions are effective. By the way, Kenny, no big thing has happened in my life yet. We got, I think, a month left. And your prophecy will be wrong. Which means we can stone you, right? Your prophecy was that I will have to come to a decision tree, a moment, an epiphany, right? Will you use GOAT as your poker username? Maybe I should. Instead of PineCreek, Goat Creek. You had him admitting the church was made up of people with souls lasting forever. Philosophy can make anything come into existence. Well, I think I had him admit that the church could be wrong about the resurrection of Jesus, because he admitted he could be wrong about anything. There's a slight possibility. So there's a slight possibility the church, the traditions might be wrong, after he's saying they can't be wrong. But don't worry, Kenny. If your prophecy doesn't come true, what we'll do is we'll give you a chance. We'll throw you in a lake, and if you float, we'll keep you alive. If you don't float, burn him! Burn him! It's exploitive if your intentions are directed toward exploitation. I think that's fair to say. No, my motivation is dopamine rush. PineCreek needs merch. I'm not a capitalist. I think we should all wear the same colored shirts, drive the same colored cars. For me to make a shirt that says poof or drown is to separate some people from other people, and I think we're all the same, not only in worth, but in abilities, and of the type of gear we wear. Oh. I even made socialists throw up in their mouth. Yeah, t-shirt that says, Kenny is a witch. You laughing, Kenny? Come on, smile a little bit. It's the other way around. Floating means Kenny weighs as much as the duck, which floats like wood, which burns. Kenny's prophecy came true. Just look at Doug's profile pic. Whoa, that's the major epiphany. We want Doug plushies. Yeah, I could make a really soft toy with my new profile pic that's bald. And every night you can squeeze my bald head and comfort yourself to sleep. Because that's the only way atheists can fall asleep, because of their inconsistent worldview. That the only way they can go to sleep is through lots of alcohol, lots of drugs, or squeezing a plushy toy of my head. You should try to be a social justice warrior for a day, Doug. Yeah, that'd be fun. By the way, this is big news. Big. And then my Trump impersonation. Big news. You know how I was 80% meat? People have been challenging me. Why don't you become a vegetarian for a month, or vegan or whatever? Well, I'm not a vegan, but I'm 80% vegetables now. See, I run experiments. I'm a scientist. You hear that, Nathan? Are you still here? 80%. The only meat I eat now is fish. True story. And a little bit chicken. But 80% of what goes in my mouth now, I've started this about a week ago, is vegetables. Nuts. Vegetables, nuts. I've cut out all dairy. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. I haven't had steak in over a week. Haven't had pork. Haven't had dairy. The only meat I've had is fish. And I think one time I had chicken. Chicken breast. So I'm not an extremist like some of you atheists out there. I'm not like Alex, cosmic skeptic. I'm not an extremist. So I probably never in my life would be 100% one way or the other. But right now I'm leaning 80%, 90% vegetables. So don't Don't give me grief, you meat eaters. Don't be like those vegans and vegetarians who gave me grief for eating meat. And you know what? It didn't take much work to become a carnivore, 80% carnivore, and it's not taking much work to become 80% vegetarian. I mean, I really don't miss anything. No, so far I don't miss anything. I actually like the taste of oatmeal, and I eat oatmeal almost every morning now. And it's very filling. 1 full cup of oatmeal with almond milk and sugar-free brown sugar, which is an oxymoron, but you know what I mean. It's that alcohol. What do you call it? Forget. But anyhow, tastes really good. Do you expect benefits or detriment versus meat? I expect a benefit. That my expectation is my cholesterol will come down. It was a little high. And I do expect my skin to clear up a little bit more, because I remember I was a vegetarian years ago. Like, I'd say 99% vegetarian. Didn't even eat fish. And I noticed my skin became very clear. Well, Doug Dean, come on, give me a break. I said 80% vegetarian. That means 20% of the time I can eat meat. And that 20% was a chicken breast and fish. Do the math. Math don't lie. But I actually think it's higher than 80%. If you were to take my caloric intake and then the source of that caloric intake, because I eat so much oatmeal and nuts, I eat a lot of almonds and peanuts, which is high in calories. I bet you that I'm over 80% non-meat. For a week. Doug Dean, how many calories does a person eat in a week? At least 7 to 10,000 calories. Let's say it's 10,000 calories. I'm saying 8,000 calories of that 10,000 came from non-meat, which is 2,000 calories. So I don't think the fish and the chicken I ate is 2,000 calories. So I'm probably more than 8%. Kenny said he wants to talk to you in 20 minutes. Where did he say that? Be home on 20. I'll come on if he's still on. Oh, now I see where he said that. Thanks, Gur. How has your poo changed? Oh, that's a negative expectation. I love the meat diet when it comes to poo-poo. I hate the vegetarian diet when it comes to poo-poo. Oh, because my poo-poo has changed. It's like I take toilet paper and I'm rubbing it against a Sharpie marker. Again and again and again. If you want to waste money on toilet paper, you become a vegetarian. If you want to save money on toilet paper, you become a carnivore. That's just science. I don't know if I want to wait for Kenny. No, I don't want to. It's not worth it. You eat 17,000 calories a week. Wow. No, I don't think I'm over 10. In fact, I know I'm not, because I try to target 1,000 calories a day, but I end up usually going over because it's really hard to track every day because the day gets busy. But I'm definitely under 2,000 calories a day. Definitely. Baby wipes help. You want me to go to Costco, the store I love the most, and buy baby wipes for my own tushy? A grown man using baby wipes? I might as well become a Christian. If all I seek is comfort from the baby wipes, then I might as well become a Christian. Wait until 19 minutes, then hit the music. Yeah. Oh, that would be so fun. I missed the talk with Kyle. What are your thoughts on him? Rewind, Journey to the East. Rewind. What is your favorite animal to eat? Right now, salmon. Although, to be fair, I've never tasted a human, so maybe some of you guys out there are very tasty. But I warn you, I like dark meat. So if you're Trinidadian or African descent, I would lean towards yours. Someone get Matt Dillahunty in here so he can leave immediately. Did Doug just say he likes eating black people? And Hispanics. That's the thing. Like, even the social justice warriors, they can laugh at some of my jokes, right? Like, they can hate me for my politics, but I still make them laugh. So they don't know what to do. Yeah, you know what, Chen? Maybe Asian on the side, but I like the main portion, the big portion, to be dark meat. Well, we can go Asian meat on the side. Maybe as an hors d'oeuvre, as an appetizer. Because nothing gets your palate ready to consume like an Asian. Are the Asians laughing? Oh, I just realized Chen is Asian. Don't flush flushable wipes. They clog up the drain at home. See, that's another thing. Yeah, I don't want to plug up my plumbing. And I don't want to be like the Mexicans who take their rags that are full of poop and throw it in the garbage can right next to the toilet. Have you guys ever been to Mexico? Oh, now I'm definitely getting the social justice warriors mad. No, I make a judgment call. I judge any nation that throws poopy toilet paper in the garbage can. That they have not seen the Enlightenment. You can tell there's a correlation between poopy toilet paper next to the toilet and military strength. Any nation who puts their poopy toilet paper in a trash can next to the toilet doesn't have a good military. My name is PineCreek, and I'll be running for vice president with Donald Trump. This is why Trump called those nations shithole countries. Because of the toilet paper next to the toilet. That's just science. Yeah, not just the Mexicans, I agree. The Brazilians. Are any Brazilians in here? You and your toilet paper. The people from Ecuador, Belize. Oh, those Belize people. Oh, man. They're the worst. Anybody from Belize here? I have a relative in jail there. Can you go send him flowers for me? By the way, I'm not lying. Or maybe he's dead. I think it's Belize. He tried to do a Mennonite drug deal and it went bad. You know Mennonites and their drug deals. We Cubans use newspapers. Well, if it's one of those liberal newspapers, then I'm all for it. Are you listening, Kyle? Yeah. Let's put those liberal syndications to good use. Relatives in Belize jail? Story time. He was the type of Mennonite who was don't pay taxes, government's out to get you. He fled to Belize, got caught in some other, I think, Ponzi scheme. Grimlock says, PineCreek just poop in the shower? What are we, animals? Oh yeah, we are. Well, have you guys ever heard about China? How they poop? Watch the Chinese poop documentary. It's very informative. They squat over a hole. Many of them. Brazilians and Japanese use bidets, not toilet paper. Oh yeah, they think they're better than us. The Japanese, the Brazilians using their warm water, shooting up the butt. Oh yeah, how cultured are they? Poof. Actually, I'm jealous. I do want a bidet. It's French too. Anything French up the bum is good.